Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Here with a big Week 5 sit start stream. The action starts early today, so I am going to dive right in, get through the news as fast as I can because I know we got a London game. I'll go to the usual 10 o'clock. I should have probably scheduled this a half hour early, but then we've been getting such great views, and you guys have been so awesome at the 8 to 10, so figure we'll keep it like that. I'll miss the first half hour of the game or so, but want to make sure we have enough time for all your questions, assuming we're going up till 10 anyways. But the last few weeks, you guys have been incredible. We've been over 1,500 plus live viewers, over 3,000 views on the streams, about 300-ish questions. You can't beat it. It's the best way to start the Sunday. You guys melt my brain every Sunday, and I love it. So thank you so much for being in here. It's already about 25, 30 questions. 50 of you or so just right off the jump. Great to see. If you don't mind, wherever you're at, hitting that thumbs up, the like, the shares, all that stuff, the retweets, the heart button, anything that wherever you're at, right around early. If you guys hit it for us, it really does help us get out to new people. We've seen it time and time again. We're picking up 30 plus subs every show, and it's so just awesome. You guys are the best. So thank you again for being here. But let's waste no more time with that. We'll dive into some quick Thursday night football takeaways, which there are a good amount of them, but I'm just going to rip through them real fast. Some quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end news, and then again on to all of your questions. But there is a bit to cover. There's quite a bit to cover. And I'll make sure I'm going to go for 30 minutes at most on all the stuff you need to know ahead of time. But let's go. Let's dive in. Kirk Cousins, monster night. 509 record yards, 4 touchdowns. It goes and sets the Atlanta Falcons record on Matt Ryan night. Thank you, Kirk. No, I love it. It's great to see. And my God, the amount of people he brought up with him, 13 targets, 12 catches, 154 yards and a touchdown for Drake London. We saw him move into the slot nearly half the time. That was huge, according to PFF. So much of his production, he became a big slot, like almost like a big Puka Nacua in this Rams-inspired Zach Robinson, the big Cooper Kupp role. We saw it for Drake London. That was incredible. His value is going to the moon on my rest of season rankings. If you have London, you got to feel better about seeing Kirk Cousins look so good, and especially that new improved usage. Darnell Mooney, though, maybe going to be the waiver wire pickup of the year. 16 targets, 9 catches, 105 yards, and 2 TDs. Could have been an even bigger night. We all saw the big drop, but thankfully it did not come to bite them back in the butt. He ultimately had a monster day, led the team with those 16 targets. To me, Mooney might be that number 1 pickup of the year. I know it's early. We're only a quarter of the season, but he has the looks of that guy. We talked about him as a top 5 pickup in week 1. I wish I had him at the top of the list because he is looking like a true difference maker, especially as this offense gets going. And we have Kyle Pitts. Pretty revived, at least I know on Thursday night. I said never Kyle Pitts. It was so hard to ever trust this guy. 8 targets, though, 7 catches, 88 yards. Again, we're not going to get 509 yards every single night from Kirk Cousins, but to know this type of upside is out there and to know Kyle Pitts, they said pregame, we want to get this guy going. First play, 30-yard gain. He looked good out there, but ultimately was still a distant third. Like that's what – I don't know if you could actually ever sell high on Kyle Pitts because who's ever really going to buy the guy? You probably just continue to roll him out now, knowing you have a little bit more ceiling. But ultimately, like he was still the distant third. This is a great night, but also we're not going to get Kirk Cousins throwing 58 passes every single night either. And not to be left out, Ray McCloud, a nice 9 target, 6 catch, 66-yard day. Like that's on any waiver wire show, we'd probably be talking about those guys. I just wanted to mention Ray McCloud continues to go out. All these Falcons getting going, getting in the party, but Bijan Robinson, the disappointing season, does continue. 12 carries, 61 scoreless yards, a couple catches, 16 yards. I said it before the show, and then I tweeted out. I wish I had tweeted out before the show, but on Thursday night, I said, I think it's time to sell high on Bijan, maybe even before this matchup. If you can, I would trade him straight up for Nico Collins, even though rest of season rankings have those two about 10 apart. I have them 10 apart, but I had Nico Collins at 4 and Bijan Robinson at like 13. Ultimately, I think a lot of people are going to get closer and closer to the way I have it now. We'll see. But ultimately, we've seen Bijan Robinson locked in number 3 on big boards rest of the season. And it's just, I think, a perception of the guy. I think he's talented, no doubt about it. But Tyler Algier, 6 carries. Like he's just not going away and certainly not in the red zone area as well. And so if you can still get a lot of the drumbeat from fantasy analysts, it continues to be buy Bijan, buy Bijan, buy Bijan. Love the player. I'm always down to buy low on talent. I get it. And yet I don't think this is going to be the role that fully puts him over the edge. And as long as that perception of him continues to linger, if it's still out there, I would see if you can salvage and get what you can and get like a true wide receiver one for the guy if possible. Don't sell completely low. Don't go giving him up for Darnell Mooney, a bag of chips. Like, especially I love Mooney, but still, if you can get a true alpha, go for it. In terms of the Bucs, it was kind of more of the same. Baker, another 3-touchdown day, 180 yards, and all 3 of them coming in the first half. You'd love to have seen him continue that throughout the game, but hey, you cannot complain. Another 25-plus point day from the quarterback 3 in fantasy on the year. Mike Evans, 62 yards, 5 catches, 2 touchdowns. Nearly all of it did come in the first half. I was facing Evans. Obviously, it hurts, but it could have been a lot worse, so it seems. I did have Godwin. He had a nice day, 60 yards. He's had 60 yards in every single game this year. Another 6 catches. He's had that every single game. Only 9 points, though, so ultimately Evans definitely buried him a bit for fantasy. Cade Otton, 3 catches, 44 yards, just kind of like we said. Cade Otton, you ate something. He didn't do anything huge, but at tight end, you don't really need anything huge. He kind of got there for you. The last note, we did talk a lot about Bucky Irving versus Rachaad White on the stream. We talked a lot about how we were comfortable playing Bucky Irving. I started him. Certainly was not the best of plays. 44 yards. Did look really good on his 9 carries. He still can really just pops off the page. I know Rachaad White, the 10 carry, 72 yard, that looks better than Bucky Irving. And I hate being that guy like, oh, will you take away? He had the most mammoth lane. The defense completely shifted to cover Bucky Irving, and then this massive truck. Like, he should have scored a touchdown, honestly. I hate him being that guy. He had a 56-yard run where he had nobody near him. If it was Irving, I bet you it does get scored there ultimately. But it was a good run. You can't take it away from him. But that really, other than that, he still averaged right around that 2.1 yards per carry we've been seeing all year. For rush, I still think Bucky Irving looked better. And they still put him back in. He had a costly fumble at the end of the game, and they put him right back into the game, which I was worried of. Rookie fumbles it. Sometimes we don't see them return. And he ultimately got right back out there, and the coach said, I still have faith in Bucky. So not the performance you were wanting in fantasy. I agree. It certainly hurt me. If you started him at my recommendation, I do apologize. I'm also looking, though, I'm like, I started him. It stinks, but now I'm like scrambling because of all these injuries we're going to dive into now. Alrighty, Wolfpack, let's dive into those said injuries. If you have any other Thursday night notes or questions, please do let me know. As always, again, 230 of you right from the jump. Please do consider that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the reshare, the retweet, all that good stuff really does go such a long way. And as always, if you do want to jump the line, if you got to get in and out before London, you got to go get the groceries, Super Chat is the way to not only support your boy. It is so greatly appreciated. We had like a record 30 Super Chats last week. Still can't get over it. You guys are so generous, so kind. Thank you very much. That is the way to cut the line. My man Campanelli's in the moderator's seat, making sure to find any Super Chats that come our way, and we will be sure to let you jump the line if so. Other than that, of course, keep getting those questions in. Let's rip through this news. Anthony Richardson, he has been downgraded to doubtful for the week. And honestly, I know he's an interesting fantasy enigma himself and could put up points in a hustle against the Jags, but for all the other weapons, you got to love having Joe Flacco start. We've been talking about this all year, the path to Michael Pittman's upside. You can't drop the guy because if Joe Flacco takes over, we saw how he inflated David Njoku, inflated Amari Cooper, and we saw it last week when he played 3 quarters. Flacco himself had 15 fantasy points in just 3 quarters of action and ultimately was a humongous boost. Yes, to Pittman, who's already having kind of a big day already with Anthony Richardson, but biggest boost went to Josh Downs, and he becomes both these guys. Pittman rose 15 spots in my ranking. He's now a top 15 wide receiver, but Josh Downs is right now on the fringe of top 25 wide receivers for me. And the more I think about it, the more I almost want to bump him in there. We saw Josh Downs put up 22 fantasy points alone in those 3 quarters with Joe Flacco. It was just so impressive what he was doing out there, playing nearly every single snap, a lot of them coming from the slot, yards per run. Everything was just dominant. He was getting open at will, and Flacco was delivering the mail. So I love me some Josh Downs today. If you have a Josh Downs question, do keep me posted. I think he is an A-plus play. He's also only 5,100 on draft because I think a lot of people are going to be gravitating to him, to Dontayvion Wicks, and you should be. They are phenomenal, both plays this week. We're going to talk about Wicks and all them soon. Some of the running back news, and a lot of it probably getting covered in that headline here. So we have Antonio Gibson. He is starting against the Dolphins. We had Ramondre Stevenson. Fumbling issues have caught up to him, and ultimately he's getting benched now. The only player in the NFL right now that averages more fumbles per touch, not in the season, but just for their career, than Ramondre Stevenson is Antonio Gibson. So I could easily and just ironically see a situation where Gibson starts, fumbles early, and then we don't see him either. He's banished to the shadow realm. He's risky, but he also gets a matchup, a top 5 matchup for running backs. I do imagine you're going to give him the first drive. And if he thrives, I don't think he hands the keys back this week at minimum. But if he gets stuffed, 3 carries, 4 yards, punt in the first 2 drives, they're going to get Rhamondre going. And Mayo's already come out and said, like, this is not a complete and utter benching. We're still going to get plenty of Rhamondre. Rhamondre is phenomenal in the red zone so far this year, so I imagine we get some touchdowns here from him. Potential, at least 50% of his green zone carries have gone for either first downs or touchdowns so far this year. But Gibson's also been the better back, 5.3 yards per carry, 3.15 yards per route. Like, he's playing really solid. And comparatively, Stevenson's only 4.1 and 0.47 yards per route and carry right there. So ultimately, I could see Gibson really doing well this week. I have to personally decide myself between, like, do I go Gibson? Do I go Chase Brown? Do I go Curtis Samuel, one of my favorite sleepers we're going to talk about later today? Do I go Jordan Whittington, another one of my favorite sleepers that we're going to talk about too? I don't know. So if you guys have any strong leanings for Gibson, Chase Brown, Whittington, and Curtis Samuel, I got to consider 2 of these guys. My lineup is decimated. So let me know what you guys think about that one if you want to help your boy out too. Joe Mixon is not going to play, nor is, as of last night, Dameon Pierce. You start Cam Akers. It is the single best matchup for running backs, and yet I can't go back to the well. I've gone twice. It has not come through for me. I'm done with it. That means you guys can probably go to it with confidence, knowing Cam Akers just hates the Wolf. He's not going to play for him. The locker room, the bulletin board material, it's up there for him. The dude sucks, though. He doesn't look good. I was hopeful. He looked great this preseason, but he was playing against third stringers. So ultimately, I'm not going to sit here and string together the argument for Cam Akers to be a start. He's going to get the volume in a great matchup, though. He could be a low-end running back, too. And maybe he does. We've seen, again, this Bills team get absolutely destroyed on the ground week in and week out. The upside will be there, but I hate the guy. And if they get game flowed out, we've seen Dare Agombola ultimately take over that third down role. They were mixing in whoever the third string back is there. I don't even know his name. It slipped my mind there. And you look better. So, like, it's not even a guarantee that Cam Akers retains this. So I'm not playing Cam Akers. He's one of my fades. Another running back, though, in that realm, like, who could you trust? One of the big questions this week is going to be Tyrone Tracy with Devin Singletary doubtful, most likely not playing this week. Can you trust Tyrone Tracy? A 9.78 SPARQ score, athlete, RAS score, relative athletic score, freakish, like top 40 all time of like thousands and thousands of running backs. This guy is an athletic freak, 4.3 at like 220. He's got some juice too. We've seen him in some limited action, 40 yards on 4 catches, making people miss. He's a converted receiver, went to Purdue and got switched to running back and had some very solid efficiency metrics, well over 6 yards a touch, well over 6 yards a carry at Purdue. Expected to be more of a change of pace back entering the league. And now when you look at the touches so far this year, Eric Gray hasn't sniffed the field. I think it's like 5 total snaps compared to 60 for Tracy. And Tracy has those 18 opportunities compared to just those 4 or 5 opportunities for Eric Gray. It still, though, comes with its downside. And so that's why I want to talk about Tyrone Tracy. Is Seahawks, they're getting 3 defensive starters back. I know they got bludgeoned by the Lions here last week, but this Giants team is not the Lions. In fact, it couldn't be more opposite. And without Malik Neighbors, I do strongly question how much the Giants are going to be able to move the ball at all. No Malik Neighbors. Is Wan'Dale Robinson going to be a target hog? We'll talk about that. But, I don't think so. I think he might get the targets, but if they're going to actually be beneficial like we've seen in weeks past, I don't know. I am worried that the Seahawks are going to completely just suffocate this entire offense here. So I also could see a world where they thrust Eric Gray into the carries. They keep Tyrone Tracy into his change of pace role. There is this upside there. My brother was asking about him because he has this guy. So I've been thinking through Tyrone Tracy a lot since last night. We were debating this. And he mentioned, and I agree, there is the world where he gets 25 carries, actually looks juicy, and rips off 100 yards and maybe even a score. That's in the realm of possibilities. It's such a wide range of outcomes for Tyrone Tracy. But I do personally lean towards the lesser side of things with the offense just being god-awful. I could see them getting shut out easily today, and Tracy just getting stuffed and ultimately not in the role that we all expect. There's a lot of downside. Even though the upside is decent, it really is solid. I personally, if I have other options, I like Jordan Whittington, for example. I like Alexander Madison. There's other guys I'd rather go to than him. It does look like we got our first super chat of the day from Frosty. Thank you so much, Frosty, for your generous super chat. We greatly appreciate it. We'll let you cut the line, and then we'll get right back to all the rest of the news. Half PPR running back, need one, Josh Jacobs or Zach Moss. Wide receiver. So for the running backs, I definitely go Jacobs. The Rams, one of the worst defenses in the league, maybe the worst. They're giving up the most yards per touch if you combine passing and rushing, but they're bad against both. Top 5 points allowed to pretty much every single quarterback, running back. The point with receivers, any position in fantasy, they are generous against, and I think that game is going to have some juice. I think the Packers are going to put up some points early and then run Josh Jacobs, who's just hunting. He's looked really solid. He's ultimately gotten a ton of the work. I know that the carry distribution is getting a little closer with Emmanuel Wilson, one of my favorite sleepers, guy you can stash right now. Is getting closer for sure. But really the only thing missing for Jacobs so far this year has been touchdowns, and I think this is a week where that could overcorrect multiple touchdowns for the guy. Meanwhile, Zach Moss, we're seeing that workload get closer and closer with him and Chase Brown. They get the awful matchup against the Ravens, who have given up the least points to running backs besides, actually even more so than Detroit now after they got destroyed by Ken Walker. So I ultimately think Jacobs, clear lead back here in a better matchup, just needs those touchdowns to go his way, and I think they will. So I'm going to go Josh Jacobs for you there. In terms of the wide receiver, you need one, of Tyreek, Brian Thomas, Wandale, and then you got to flex all of the above. Okay, awesome, Frosty. Well-worded question, too. I like when they come in nice and clean like this. The receiver to me is easy, and it's Brian Thomas. No Evan Ingram, most likely. Whether that really matters or not, I don't even care because Brian Thomas is becoming an alpha before our eyes. Nearly 18 fantasy points last week. The guy is so talented. Huge believer in this player and the coverage that he's facing. The Colts, one, they just suck. The players are horrendous. They're giving up top 3 points to wide receivers on the year. And week in and week out, we've seen the Colts just get bombed through the air, and especially deep. They run a lot of cover 3, which right now, I know it's an early start to his career, but Brian Thomas has destroyed that coverage, whereas Christian Kirk has actually really struggled against it, according to Fantasy Points Data Suite. So I really like the peripherals, the matchups, the schematics for Brian Thomas, and then even more so, I just love this player who continues to blossom into his own. He is 100% the guy for me of these, but we do have to flex one. Now, if it was full PPR, I would honestly say Wandale over Tyreek Hill. He's a PPR scam, but I do worry today that without the threat of Malik Neighbors stretching out the cornerbacks, opening up that middle layer of the field, I know Wandale will get his targets. I think they're going to be even less productive than what we've seen. And they haven't been hitting. He's averaging, like a 4.0 ADOT, average depth of target. I think his yards per reception are 180th out of like 200. I have the numbers in an article that I wrote earlier this week. I don't know it off the top of my head. I just know it's very low. It's just a matter of volume. And I think the volume is going to be there. I just think there's going to be even less room to operate for the guy. So I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. I'm going to go with the guy that, him and Huntley continued to misfire on Monday night, but Huntley's been there for 4 or 5 days. And there were times where Hill was running wide open. You got to imagine they've been practicing that time and time again this week. Pat's defense is okay, but much better against the run than the pass. One of the bigger pass funnels in the league right now. So I could see Tyreek Hill shaking free, Huntley and him connecting for a bomb. I think that's much higher upside in a half PPR, especially here. So I'm going to go Jacobs, Brian Thomas, and then Tyreek Hill for this one, Frosty. Hopefully that helps you out. And thank you again so much for your super chat. It is so greatly appreciated, brother. All right, back to the running back news here. Thank you again so much. 430 of you here. Just a quick call out for that thumbs up button. Thank you again so much. It's so greatly appreciated. The likes, the shares, the retweets, all that good stuff does help us grow. We talked about Antonio Gibson and Joe Mixon moving to the Commanders for Brian Robinson. He was trending in the right direction as of Friday, and as of last night, he is good to go. He will be in the lineup, and I think he's got to be in your fantasy lineup. Brian Thomas has been incredible so far this year. Austin Eckler is back, so it's not going to be a monopoly, but it wasn't even a monopoly last week. He had Jeremy McNichols vulture 2 touchdowns. He could have had a 3-touchdown day, Brian Robinson, had Ms. McNichols' character not been there. But this run game under Dan Quinn, under Cliff Kingsbury, has been dominant, and Robinson has been the absolute engine of it. I know the Browns, tougher matchup than what they had last week, but not these scary Browns of last year, a defense that you couldn't ever put anybody in against. So I'm a big fan of Brian Robinson today, right there in my top 15-ish running backs for the week. Let me know if you have any questions on him, but he's running back 12 for me. Let me know if you have any questions on him, if you're worried about the matchup, but I am not personally myself. Shane Steichen did say we have obviously Jonathan Taylor out. A lot of the big questions are Trey Sermon. Do I trust this guy? Call me hesitant. I have him at running back 27, so certainly he could be plausible for lineups. I got some lineups where I'd love to have Trey Sermon to toss in there right now with all these injuries going on. So you can certainly go to him. He's the only running back on this team to garner a touch other than Jonathan Taylor. He's played the clear running back 2 role. But we did already have Shane Steichen say it's going to be a running back by committee. They have full confidence in both Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson. We'll believe it when we see it. We saw Zach Moss become a true bell cow last year. Could happen for Sermon. But, I mean, we saw it last week. 5 carries, 8 yards. The guy is just not good. So it is a pure volume bet. Thankfully, the volume bet is coming against the Jags, one of the best teams at defending everything, including the run. So I do think he's solid. I think he's a little bit overrepresented on DraftKings at 5,700. He's going at like a 20% clip. I think there's a bunch of other running back plays I'd rather go to than him. But yeah, in your lineups, if you need him, it's going to be a source of volume in a good matchup. So I think you can go to it, but don't be shocked again if Goodson mixes in and is a little more annoying than you expect. Last running back notes here are Zamir White is more than likely to be doubtful, and ultimately Madison was already trending towards taking that backfield over. He's seen half the touches of Zamir White and outscored him in every single week. Can't believe I'm saying this, but Madison has actually looked good. He's actually looked efficient. This Denver defense is no joke. Nothing to mess with. I don't love having Madison in my lineup, but a starting running back getting meaningful volume. We just said it with Trey Sermon. He has a clearer path, does Alexander Madison today, than a guy like Trey Sermon, in my opinion. So they're right neck and neck to me. I think I prefer Madison myself. I'd be intrigued to see if Dylan Lawbay gets activated. I've been wanting to see the kid out of UNH play. We shall see. But ultimately, it's going to be like Zamir White is out, and he's still rostered in like 75% of leagues. Cut the dude. He's useless. You should have cut him before the injury. You should definitely get him out of here at this point. Jaylen Warren not playing tonight against the Cowboys. Another workhorse night for Najee Harris. We've seen him. He does not look good at all, but it is a nice source of dependable volume. Alrighty, guys, we are moving on to the wide receiver position. Less notes here, and we'll be on to all of your questions in just about 3 to 4 minutes. Thank you so much for your patience and for choosing to spend your morning here with me. Brian Dayball says Malik Neighbors, he's out. Unfortunately, the star of the season so far will not be playing. And yes, I do think this does give Wan'Dale Robinson a big bump in terms of volume. Although, could he really go up that much? The dude is already seeing, he saw 36% target share last week. He's at 28% target share on the year. He's top 10 in those numbers right now. So I think he's going to get the volume. We know that's already going to happen. It's already part of the game plan. It already hasn't been productive, though. And I think without Neighbors, it's just a huge detriment to this entire offense. I think they're going to get swallowed here by the Seahawks. So I don't know. I don't know that I like him in PPR where if he gets 10 catches and they're for 40 yards, you're like, all right, fine. And even in half PPR, it has its place. He's a top 35-ish wide receiver. Not just completely dumping on Wan'Dale. He's got some upside for sure. But I just think a lot of people are like, oh, crown him, all this volume, and now he gets Malik Neighbors out. Let's go. It's like, there's only so much more volume you can get, and now it's going to be significantly less productive in my mind, less efficient than it already is. Pretty historically low rate right now. So I don't love Wan'Dale, but let me know if you have any questions. I think the whole offense suffers as a result. We got Mike coming in with a super chat. Thank you, guys. Number 2 on the day. So generous of you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Start 2, Ford, Harris, Hunt, and Sermon. Also crazy to start JSN against the Giants over Hill. Ooh, good questions here, Mike. Let's dive in. So of these two, of 2 running backs, I would go, I think Jerome Ford is my favorite here. Washington, just a bad defense in general. And we've seen him these last few weeks take over as right back to that 70%-ish snaps workload guy. We had that one little hitch in the wagon there when Donta Foreman outsnapped him, outcarried him, all that. But ultimately, he is back in business, and he's been solid. Nothing crazy, 16, 7, 9, and 12 half PPR points. But again, a good matchup, and especially because they're going to have to push the pace here against the Commanders, one of the better offenses in the league right now. I think Ford is my favorite of these options here, a clear-cut top running back for me this week. Then it becomes tricky. You got volume bets with Harris and probably Sermon, even though they mentioned a committee here. I think Najee will see a good amount of volume against the Cowboys team, giving up the most points in the league, or the running backs, the second most points after last week where they stuffed the Giants. But still been a very, very generous run defense. And you also got, it's tricky with Sermon. They talked about doing a committee here. despite a great matchup against the Jags. He's in a good spot. I honestly think my favorite here is Kareem Hunt. The Saints, not the best or worst of matchups, we saw Kareem Hunt get 65% of the carries, 45% of the snaps in his first game. He already became kind of the clear-cut running back, and there's going to be no CEH at least this week, and I'm not that worried about CEH anyways long term. So I see a guy that's probably going to get the future workload here for a Chiefs offense. That isn't what we thought, but it's always been a valuable role to be the Chiefs' number one. It comes down to Najee or Kareem Hunt because, again, Najee, you just have nobody there competing with him with no Jalen Warren and even Cordell Patterson banged up here. But it was just, again, 13 for 19. Last week, he had that one catch that should have scored a touchdown on, ultimately got to 54 yards on it. But how does it get any better than that? It's 13 carries, 19 yards against Indianapolis, one of the easiest teams to run on. Najee is as gross as it gets, in my opinion, despite the good volume coming his way. I lean here Ford and Hunt myself, but I could totally understand if you're like, you know what, I'm going to stomach Najee, going to grin and bear it because he's going to get 20 touches tonight in a matchup that should be good. It is a gross weather game, too, it looks like. So that is where Mike Tomlin's already come out and said, I love getting Najee. So I guess gun to my head, if I was in your shoes, Mike, I'd probably play Harris. But it just feels so gross ever recommending him. And then JSN over against the Giants over Hill. Honestly, I don't think that's unfair at all. I don't love JSN. I know there's so many truthers out there that are just all about this guy. And I think he's good. I think he's talented. But it's just so up and down, inconsistent week in and week out. It's just a matter of, do you really trust Tyler Huntley? I don't know. If I was in your shoes, I probably would just go Tyreek Hill and hope that him and Huntley have had the time to reconnect and ultimately get that thing going. But I would. It's not crazy. It's not crazy. I personally do go Hill and just hope on the upside and just hope that Tyler Huntley. We've seen him be okay and functional as an NFL quarterback. We said it last week though. It's not the miracle worker that a lot of people think. He's in 12 career starts now, 200 yards only 3 times. Has only thrown 7 total touchdowns across 12 starts and ultimately just 1 2-touchdown day. The ceiling is very capped there, but I don't know. JSN is so inconsistent too. So I'm going to go Ford, Harris, and Tyreek Hill for me, Mike. But again, not crazy. I have those guys 2 to 3 spots in my rankings. So if you're feeling it, trust that gut. It's worth it. Najee or Swift for Steven Youngberg. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm going to go Swift. Best possible matchup for running backs coming off a week where he looked reborn. They really, for all the faults of Shane Steichen, and there are millions of them right now, DeAndre Swift finally got a nice target share himself. Gets Carolina giving up top 3 points to the running back position, coming off a 16-carry, 7-target day, 26 fantasy points in that PPR. I have a hard time benching that in an even better matchup coming up today. So I like DeAndre Swift there. Just very inefficient himself, but there's one player that's less efficient than him. It's Najee Harris. And last week we did see that efficiency return for a guy who over his career has been in DeAndre Swift, an explosive playmaker. It looked like he finally had those legs under him, Steven. Thank you again so much, by the way, for the super chat. I should have said that right from the jump. Flex, McLaurin, Kirk, or one of these running backs. I would go Terry McLaurin and just continue to go after a Jaden Daniels-led offense, the main vein of that passing attack. I know it's been relying on big plays, but I'm a big fan of Terry myself. And then stream Darnold over Watson. Yes. So I get it. This is one where it's you got Deshaun Watson in the best possible matchup against Commanders. Darnold would seemingly be in the worst. I don't know, though. I love the revenge game narrative for Sam Darnold. I just love Kevin O'Connell. He knows where to find the weak points of a defense. And sure, it's not going to be the outside corners, but you got Justin Jefferson. I think he can beat any single corner in the league. And even if not, I do have faith that Kevin O'Connell will find the ways to attack him. The Jets are giving up the 24th points to QB, so not the best up matchup. But it's also not last year where it was the 32nd. You can't even sniff starting a quarterback against this defense. So and they've also faced nobodies like Jacoby Brissett, and their averages still aren't good. Bo Nix, and they're still, not even the worst possible matchup. So I like Darnold. I just am never Watson. That's kind of my answer. And I know he looked better last week. I know the efficiency's trending the right way. I never play the guy. Never trust him. He takes so many sacks, takes so many hits. As soon as you trust him, he's going to have his hamstring flare up, and you're not going to see him the rest of the year. So I'm going to go Sam Darnold. I'm going to go Terry McLaurin, and I'm going to go DeAndre Swift, Steven Youngberg. Thank you so much for the generosity, and thank you. Now, our fourth super chat of the day, you guys are so generous, so greatly appreciated here on a Sunday morning. You guys are the best, and Papa Sarno consistently rolling out these super chats for your guy. Thank you so much. I so greatly appreciate it. Happy Sunday to you as well. Half PPR, you have Collins, Wicks, and Pickens in my wide receiver spots. Love it. I would put all three of those guys. I'm looking at the list that you just texted me right here. Tyreek, Chase Brown, Worthy, and Ford. I think you have it right with Collins, Wicks, and Pickens. I think those are the clear top three. And I'm going to just make sure my rankings reflect that. I always keep the edit rankings up during this show just because I, again, want the answers I give you to also be reflected in what I put out there to the masses, folks. So I would say this flex comes down to Worthy or Ford. It is a little bit of that classic, like, do you need the ceiling? Because obviously Worthy comes with all the ceiling in the world. No Rashee Rice for however long. That's one of the medical mysteries of the year right now is what's up with Rashee Rice's knees. He's had surgery, but they don't tell us if it's an ACL repair or meniscus tear. They just say he's going to be out for an unknown period of time. Why don't they have to tell us? I don't know. There's a lot of money on the line for us normal nerds here, but also like NFL franchise. I don't know. It's just crazy that betting and fantasy are so crucial to this business, and yet they don't have to be transparent at all. It's wild. That's a rant that we could go on for the rest of the day, and we've got to get to your questions, so we won't do that. It's tough, though, because Worthy, like, he was great on screens. He was great after the catch at Texas. He can do all that stuff, but I imagine, like, a lot of those hits you see Rashee Rice taking over the middle, we know Worthy's size, and I don't think that it's ever going to be a one-for-one type of swap. I do think that what happened on Sunday, where we saw Travis Kelce get up to a 30% target share back to like the main middle of the field, like, chain mover. I think that's more likely what we're going to be getting here from Xavier Worthy here. So I kind of like playing it safe with Ford. I think you're getting a lot of touches in a great matchup. You're going to get your 12 points. There is upside if he scores, and gets to you to 18 to 20. We've seen it from Ford before. He has big games within him. So I'm not overly concerned there. But, like, man, if you're a severe underdog, I'm coming in. Like, I faced Mike Evans. I had Godwin and Bucky Irving. I'm only a 30%er right now. That changes it. Like, in my case, if I was looking at this decision for my personal lineup, I'd go Worthy. I'd go for the guy that could get me, 30 points. He had that long touchdown already this last week. So, yeah, I see the upside there to rolling Worthy out. More often than not, though, I am going to go Jerome Ford there. I'm trying to think of like Wicks versus Worthy. I do think I would ultimately go Wicks, and I'm bumping him up the rankings as a result. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But we did have one more super chat. Ultimately, though, thank you again, Papa Sarno. I love your receiver decisions. I guess you could consider Pickens versus Worthy as well. But this is a game where they're going to probably get pushed, and that's where we see Pickens do his damage. So no, I would go limited this flex decision to Ford versus Worthy, and I'm going to go Ford most cases than not, Papa Sarno. But let me know how it goes. Let me know what you decide. Best of luck making your choice. And then Dylan coming from the top rope with another super chat. Thank you guys again. So generous, so kind of you. So appreciated on this lovely Sunday morning. Cheers. PPR, start Najee or Etienne. One flex between the leftover running back and Worthy, Higgins, Amari, Pickens. Wide receiver one is Nico. London is nice. You start out hot here with London. So, yeah, you are in a 65% chance to win. I've never been an Etienne guy. And now that Bigsby's taking more and more of that work, looking better and better, and just like Etienne's getting more and more banged up, I don't love Najee as ugly as it gets, but you're getting 20-ish touches tonight against a Dallas team that has really struggled to tackle. That might be without two of their top defensive linemen. And it's going to be a wet game. It's looking like rain there. And Mike Tomlin's been on the record multiple times saying, in these ugly games, all I want to do is lean upon Najee. And they have no one else to lean upon anyways, with no Jalen Warren, no Cordarrelle Patterson. So I think you're getting a Najee just hammer game. And I don't think you're probably going to get like 20 carries for, 50-ish yards. Maybe he can get you one break and he gets to like 60, 70. But I do think he's a good bet to score. And I just don't like Etienne at all. So I'm going to go Najee. And then it's going to come down to the receivers for me. Man, you got some receivers here, huh? In terms of like already having Nico in London and I'm one of these three. You need floor. And it's tricky because all these guys that you sent in here, none of them are really floor plays. They're all kind of boomer bust mold receivers. My highest rating is Amari Cooper. You get the Washington Commanders matchup, top three. Yeah, that second is absolutely abysmal. He was last week. He had 2 touchdowns right off his hands. Could have easily scored some long bombs last week. So I go Amari here. He is obviously a risk to just do nothing, though. We've seen it multiple times this year already. I think if I had to pick like a safe floor, I don't know. None of these guys, like they're all boom or bust. Higgins, they're probably going to need to lean upon him. So he's probably the best bet of this group to see like 8 targets no matter what. But what's he going to do with it? His season high right now is wide receiver 40. Like I look at him and I'd much rather have the boom potential of Amari, Pickens, or Worthy in my lineup. I'm gonna just say Amari. Go with that matchup. Plus, what if they want to showcase him for a trade type of situation? If you really didn't like him, though, I think the next highest floor here would probably be Pickens. Especially if the Cowboys push him and they're going to need a pass. We saw that last week and what that script did for Fields, for George Pickens. So there is upside there as well. But I personally go Amari here and just ride anything against the Commanders is how I kind of play that myself. What's going on, fella? Thank you so much. So generous, guys. Already 6 super chats. You guys are so kind. Thank you again, Frosty, Mike, Steven Youngberg, Papa Sarno, and Dylan. You guys are so generous. And thank you, Mr. Fella. I know you got your big battle here today with Forrester, if I'm not mistaken. I love watching those heavyweights clash. What's up, Wolfpack? Frazier versus Foreman. Who do we got today? Tyson. Let's go. Start 1 in the flex full PPR. Chuba, Downs, Moss, Dell, Kincaid. Whew. You got some great options here. I'm going to tell you this. I limit this one ultimately to Chuba Hubbard or Josh Downs. And I think both are phenomenal plays. I think all these guys are great plays. Tank Dell, he's waiting for that boom touchdown, but could it be this week? Absolutely. In a game that could go back and forth and shoot out there with the Bills versus the Texans. Kincaid, the main van of the attack with no Shakir, very possible as well. Zach Moss has been phenomenal this year, but I am worried about that Baltimore defense. I still limit it to Josh Downs or Chuba Hubbard. I probably do lean Hubbard here. Let's go through why real quick for you. Ultimately, 25 and 30 PPR points in full PPR since Dalton took over. Has been a 70% plus touch and snap guy, getting very involved in the passing game. Looking really, really good as Chuba Hubbard with a quarterback finally there for him. And the Bears, one of the better defenses in the league as a whole, kind of, yeah. But they are top 8 matchup for running backs on the season. So that's where you can really butter your bread against the Bears there. I think Chuba Hubbard is definitely the safest bet for 18 to 20 touches. I really like him this week. Now, that all being said, we just saw Josh Downs with Joe Flacco, who is likely to start today, put up 22 fantasy points with only Joe Flacco through 3 quarters. Now we're going to get a full game of it, and it was so clear that this was the connection. He out-targeted Pittman. He was on pace for over 30 fantasy points on the day, had over a 32% target share with Flacco as his quarterback. Downs is a phenomenal play. You get the Jags. You get a game that definitely has shootout potential if the Jags can hold up their end of the bargain. Big if. I don't fully believe in anything about Trevor Lawrence. I think he is one of the more overrated busts in the league. But I do think that game has a lot of juicy upside there. So to me, it does come down to Downs or Hubbard. I do ultimately lean to Hubbard. I go to the running back. I defer to the volume bet there. But great options, man, fella. I'm rolling around the weeds of Whittington and Curtis Samuel with all the injuries I've piled up on one of my teams. So I would be killing to be able to make a choice like this. So well done. Great depth. You drafted really, really well to have these options. I don't think either Hubbard or Downs will let you down too much, but one of them was obviously going to be the better choice. I lean Hubbard. But man, you got some great options there. Guys, thank you so much for your generosity, for your super chats. Has a little bit off schedule and rightfully so. And thank you so much because you guys do always get to cut the line. Anybody else that wants a super chat, you're more than welcome. It's so greatly appreciated here. It keeps the lights on. It's so appreciated though. It makes doing this work that much more validating. And so again, you guys are the best. Thank you so much. But a free way with 670 of you here is a quick thumbs up button. Like I said last week, we got up to 3,000 total viewers on our week 4 stream. And it was all because of you guys liking, sharing, retweeting, hitting that thumbs up button. So appreciated. Thank you again so much. We got about 100 questions. I know we got to get to them, but just to cover the remaining notes here and then on to everything that you guys have. We do have Tank Dell as part of that question that just got asked. He is returning. Still hasn't done much this year. Still has been the distant third. And so I don't love rolling him out quite yet. But ultimately, somebody that there are leagues where I'm rolling out a 16-teamer. I've got him certainly fired up into the lineup for sure. Then we got Khalil Shakir, the clear number 1 engine. Nearly 20 targets, 200 yards, a couple touchdowns vacated today for this Bills offense in a matchup where they're likely going to have to throw against the Texans. I think that game definitely has break it open, shootout style potential. Very excited for that 1 o'clock matchup. And who's going to be the main beneficiary? The natural fill-in should seem to be Dalton Kincaid. It very well could be as the number 1 passing attack. But don't be surprised. One of the guys I'm much, much higher on than ECR, and I bring this up. So if you guys have questions, he's out there in nearly every league and no one's talking about him. And that's Curtis Samuel. $24 million this offseason was their splurge, their big money acquisition. Had played with Joe Brady in 2020, had a career year, was second in wide receiver touches because he got 40 carries in addition to 98 targets there, was a top 25 wide receiver under Joe Brady. And we've seen the guy at the NFL level have many big games, was very productive for Washington out of the slot the last few years. And now he's the forgotten man. I know Shakir has been balling and kind of kicked Curtis Samuel, who got hurt in camp, was the star of camp over the first month or so. No day went by without Curtis Samuel, again, very active in the backfield, in the red zone, going all over the place, making play after play. He was the star of camp. Then he got hurt, and Khalil Shakir rose to the occasion. He snagged the job fully for himself, that kind of stay over, comfortability with his quarterback. And so he became the guy. And awesome. He earned it, but he's out this week. They're going to need a slot replacement. They've already said, Joe Brady said, I want to get Curtis Samuel more touches, more involved in this offense, and this is the perfect week for him to step up. He is the one-to-one kind of slot replacement, they've said. And so at only 40% of snaps so far, I understand why Curtis Samuel would scare you. He's done nothing, literally nothing this year to give you a reason to trust him. But I look at the career under Joe Brady. I look at the career, just a historic production in general. The guy can ball. And I see a path to being the number one option for Josh Allen today in a great matchup where they're probably going to have to throw. It's been a slot funnel defense against the Texans as well. So I just wanted to spend a little time telling you guys that Curtis Samuel is my number one Hail Mary play of the day. I'm big in on him. I have him over Whittington. I have him over Tyrone, Tracy. Maybe I'm going to look like a fool. He's going to catch 2 passes for 25 yards and then spit in my face. Possible, no doubt about it. I also have the rose-colored Josh Allen owner glasses on here. I understand that as well. But I am a big fan here of Curtis Samuel today. My number one upside, like Hail Mary, loving at 4,200 on DraftKings. And it's very cheap. There's no value this week on DraftKings. So that's another guy I'm very much into this week. The last couple receiver notes here are that Romeo Doubs, and this is another big one. He is going to be suspended, did not show up to practice because he's disappointed with his role in the offense. Of all the guys to complain there, he's the least efficient and he's run the most routes. What are you complaining about? If you're not getting open, you're not getting the targets. What a diva. These diva wide receivers, I guess if you earn it, you can have if you're Tyreek, okay, I want the ball more. Sure, Tyreek, you have earned that right. No doubt about it. Justin Jefferson wants the ball more. Complain away, baby. Romeo Doubs, you've had one huge playoff game, and I get it. It was a great game for you. You've done absolutely nothing else. Let's be real here. You've just eaten routes. You've done okay. You're fine. You're a fine player, but you're not the type of guy in your second year where you can just sit out practice and say, nope, I'm gonna hold in here. No, and I love that the team suspended him. Screw you, Romeo Doubs. Who do you think you are? And so they suspended him for the week. And what I love is part of this, I could see them being like, you think you're so good. Let's see what your replacement here, Dontayvion Wicks, is about to do. Who in games where he's seen 70% of the routes, only 3 times in his career, 15, 25, 28 fantasy points in those games. We saw it last week. Ultimately had a 13-target day, 24 fantasy point day, 2 touchdowns, and had a couple. He dropped a touchdown. That's the risk here with Dontayvion Wicks is that the hands have been a little buttery this year. There's no lie about that. But whenever he has gotten the time, this man has produced. He leads the team in targets per route run across the past 2 seasons, 24% target share on his 24% targets per route run rate right now. And he is just so efficient. He had a 2.0 yards per route run as a rookie. That's only 40 people have done that in NFL history. And we're looking at the A.J. Browns, the Jamar Chases, the elite rookie seasons. It's very rare for a rookie to post those type of totals of 2+ yards per route run, that type of efficiency, and not have a good NFL career. The list is very short of who of those 40 didn't actually pan out. So I think Wicks is a baller, is the long way of saying that. And now if you're looking at a day where no Christian Watson, no Romeo Doubs, probably going to run 100% of the routes against the Rams, the worst defense in the league, besides maybe the Commanders in terms of secondary, but maybe even worse than them. They've been the most generous team to wide receiver ones at least now. Is it Reed or is it Wicks the wide receiver one? It's Reed. He's the better player, but he's also the slot guy. He's also the move around piece. Outside is where they get destroyed, the Rams, and that's where Wicks is going to line up the vast majority of the time. So long way of saying Wicks is a clear-cut top 20 wide receiver for me. I am hammering into my lineups. If you lost Malik Neighbors, but you got Wicks on your waiver wire, for example, this week, it's not a one-to-one replacement, but I'm telling you, I really think a 15 to 20 point, almost floor here is in play for Dontayvion Wicks. One of my smash, get this guy into your lineup plays of the week. There's no doubt about it. Hopefully you got him in regressive. I said on the waiver wire on Tuesday, 7 p.m. If you guys don't typically tune in, 7 p.m. Tuesday waiver wire show. I did say that Wicks was the best waiver wire pickup we've had all year. And if you have him, you got to roll him out. I think he's going to have a monster day. And I just love targeting that game in general. But also, of course, Jaden Reed. Like, I hope you don't have questions on him. The guy's like a top 5 wide receiver play with or without the other guys in the lineup. That much more secure of a role today. And Tucker Kraft getting the boost up with Musgrave questionable, potentially out now. I love him. I love Tucker Kraft. Condensed offense. Whenever you get a pie like that, you know it's going to be delicious. You know you're going to get plenty of volume and plenty of production of these guys. And now the mouths become like 3 to 4 total targets. That's the issue with them, is usually it's spread out between 8 guys. Well, you won't even have like 6 guys this week. Maybe Bo Melton, maybe Malik Heath, these guys get involved in our Hail Mary punts. But to me, you got to roll with Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft, and of course, Dontayvion Wicks from there. So that's the long and short of the Packers there. The only other receiver notes, and then we're going to hit a super chat. Thank you so much. Another one just popped in there. Brandon Cooks is on injured reserve. Tolbert gets a little bump up, but there's better Hail Mary streams. I already talked about Curtis Samuel, Jordan Whittington, guys I prefer over Tolbert. And then Noah Brown is out. Again, really deep sleeper on maybe DraftKings type of situation, trying to be different. Olamide Zaccheaus just had 6 targets, over 12 PPR points. Again, desperation times. Derek Just consistently super chatting. Thank you again so much for your support here. We're now up to 7 super chats on the day. You guys are the best. Flex full PPR, pick one, Ford, Downs, or Ayuk. I am going to lean here. Jerome Ford. No, I'm going, it's full PPR. Josh Downs versus Ayuk. That's a tough one because I love me some Josh Downs. And I honestly think with Joe Flacco at QB and the full PPR settings, as much as I want to buy, this is the bounce back week for Brandon Ayuk. He's got a great matchup. I just keep bumping Josh Downs up the ranks. The more like I probably would rather have him than Xavier Worthy today. He's just so damn good with Joe Flacco. At least it seems so. 36% target share, 22 total fantasy points in just 3 quarters played with him. In full PPR, in half PPR, I probably wouldn't go to it because you don't get quite the benefit. But he was the dink and dunk machine for Joe Flacco. So I'm leaning Downs there over Ayuk. Call me nuts, but in full PPR, I'm playing Josh Downs there. Derek, thank you so much for the super chat. 3 great options. I think all 3 of them are going to have solid days, but to me, Downs has that like floor and ceiling to me. So thank you again so much. Alrighty, guys. We just have a couple last here tight end notes, and then it's on to all the questions that we can get in before that 10 p.m. cutoff here. Tight end news, Trey McBride. So tight end news, I didn't think we had much, and I woke up and was like, what? What is this? The first is that despite being cleared from the concussion protocol, Trey McBride, he is questionable with a rib injury now. Oh, man. And this is a later game here with the Niners, so you got to be ready. You got to have a backup plan. Looking at the tight ends in that window, it's not very pretty, ultimately, who you could have in there as a replacement. It does look like George Kittle is also questionable, so maybe you pick up like Eric Saubert from the 49ers and you have your one-on-one replacement. Maybe you just go with Elijah Higgins, the direct backup to Trey McBride, is probably the route I would go for that game. But I'll one sec. Let me just check my tight end rankings and see if there's any other. You know what? A guy that I think you could definitely lean upon as a backup plan is Juwan Johnson. The other tight end note I have is that Taysom Hill is out this week, which always bumps up Juwan Johnson's route rate. The Chiefs are the best matchup so far on the year to tight ends, giving up the most points to the position. So I do like Juwan Johnson as a potential fill-in, and Noah Fant would go in the 4 p.m. window as well. So he's a guy that you could go to. Colby Parkinson. So there are options. Come to lean upon it. So I think you do wait it out with Trey McBride. I wouldn't put in like a 1 p.m. guy that you don't feel great about. If it's Cole Kmet, okay, maybe you get a little upside in the line. If it's Tucker Kraft, for example, he plays late. So that I would say the number 1 replacement would be Tucker Kraft. He's at this point gotten scooped in most leagues. But somehow, if he's out there for you, I think that is by far the best replacement plan you could possibly ask for. Plays in the late window, great high upside play this week. But if he's not out there, I would rank them Colby Parkinson, Noah Fant, and Juwan Johnson as potential replacement plans there for Trey McBride. And then the last nugget here, we mentioned Taysom Hill is out. That's why Juwan Johnson is a play, is that we have David Njoku likely to play today. It is the Commanders. It's a good matchup. We could have Amari Cooper getting showcased for trade, but you could also be like, hey, let's see what else we have around him. I can get him in my lineup, but again, I'd play Tucker Kraft ahead of him. I am personally. It's the route I'm going. So you could get him in there because tight end's so bad, but it's a risk. What if it flares up? What if he's not the same? It's not a guarantee smash by any means. And then the last nugget is that Evan Ingram is unlikely to play. That was a surprise this morning. Would have been a smash spot against a Colts team giving up so many points to every position, but especially to tight ends as well. Sucks. So maybe Brenton Strange could become a 1-to-1 for you. But I already just went through a bunch of possible replacements again in Zach Ertz, Colby Parkinson, Dalton Schultz, Juwan Johnson, all guys, Tyler Conklin this morning. If you need something before kickoff, that could get you going as well. And TJ Hawkinson, I will just say this one too, designated to return from PUP. They have the bye coming up next week. So he started to practice already. Then you got your bye. I wouldn't be shocked to see him in week 7. And I've found him on a lot of waiver wires. I don't know why. I don't know how when tight end is this bad that he could be sitting out there anywhere. But there's a real chance he comes in as like the best tight end for the second half of the season. I know it's a bad injury, but Darnold's playing really well. That boosts the floor. He was the number 2 tight end in fantasy last year, and he's out there in waivers. Go out there and scoop him if he's somehow out there. I know he's probably not in your league. I understand. But I'm in some pretty competitive leagues where I saw him sitting out there. So because he doesn't get projected week to week. So when people, like a lot of people in leagues, especially these casual leagues, will scan like projected points. Okay, pick this guy up. He's the highest one for the week. Let's toss him in there. Obviously, there's been no projected points for TJ Hawkinson. So he's sitting out there. Just check your waivers is all I'm going to say for the big dog out there. Alrighty, that wraps up all the news, guys. So the rest of the time is 110% for you guys. We did get a super chat from my man, Mountain Man. Let's pick 3 of these options for you. Aaron Jones, Hubbard, Metcalf, Cook. Whew, you got some great options here, Mr. Mountain Man. I am leaning. Oh, man. So Aaron Jones, he's really started to see, and I don't know if that was like a Packers revenge game where the team was like, we're going to feed you against your ex-team, but right around 80% of the snaps and touches last week, looking Aaron Jones of old. Like he's just as good as ever. It's tough to not play him in this one. It's tough to not play the other guys, though, too. James Cook, obviously a good running back. He had that down week last week. I am bumping Aaron Jones ahead of him because it somehow had I'm going to put Josh Jacobs ahead of him, too. But I know that's not part of your question, but I'm just adjusting the rankings on the fly here. Hubbard, though, it's like, do I put Hubbard above him? 25 and 30 points in full PPR these last couple of weeks. He's been an absolute monster. So it's hard to not have faith in and Chuba Hubbard here. Then you got Metcalf going nuts each and every week. You got some really, really tough options here, Mountain Man, to sift through. Oh, man. I'm in the pretzel, not going to lie. I kind of want to bench Metcalf because part of me is just like, will they need him at all? I think Ken Walker might just get like 40 carries. And we've seen this team, like when the Seahawks are in the right game script, they will just pound the rock time and time again. But Metcalf also just needs one play, and he has been lights out these last few weeks too. So that is a really, really tough one. Oh, man. And to me, it comes down to Cook or Metcalf. So I got to make sure I bump Chuba Hubbard, put a little respect on the name here, because I honestly, like, I'd rather go Chuba Hubbard than James Cook today. Now with Shakir out, maybe that bumps up the target shares. He's been really solid, James Cook, other than last week, but we really haven't seen Chuba Hubbard falter at all with Andy Dalton. And maybe that's a ticking time bomb. But I don't know. I feel great about him. So I'm changing the rankings there. And I think I'm benching James Cook. How do you bench Metcalf after the last few weeks that he's had? I don't think he can. So, yeah, tough call, Mountain Man. I think I ultimately do bench James Cook of these options. But, whew, you're definitely making my brain hurt. Sorry, guys, for taking a long time on that one, but that's a tough one. But yeah, I'm benching James Cook myself. Stephen Drake's coming in with a super chat. Already over 10 super chats on the day. Thank you for your generosity, folks. So greatly appreciated. You consistently show up with a super chat, Stephen Drake's. It goes very noticed and very appreciated. Should I play it safe and play Kraft even if McBride plays? Asked Stephen Drake's. I don't know. That's a really tricky question. It's certainly safer. There's no doubt about that. But I think – so the other thing I would monitor with this one, Steven, is if Fred Warner plays or not. He's the number 1 coverage linebacker in the league. He is a beast. He would likely be on Trey McBride. And he's questionable today. If he doesn't play, I could see McBride having one of those like 10 catch. We saw him a bunch of times last year. I could see him having one of those humongous days. So more often than not, I'm probably leaning McBride, and certainly I'm pushing him over the edge if Fred Warner, someone for you to track. The good news is you can wait this out till 425 anyways, kind of play it. And if the report comes out, the ribs are a real serious issue, McBride's going to try to gut it out and see how he plays. Well, then, of course, you don't play him. You play it safe. You go to Tucker Kraft. But if it's like McBride woke up great, feeling like himself, he's ready to go today, I'd probably go Trey McBride in that point. And certainly if Fred Warner's out as well. But Kraft, I do have him 2 spots within. That tells you how much I love Tucker Kraft. So, Steve, if you're like, I don't want the headache, I'm a 70% to win right now, just want to play it safe. Yeah, Kraft's safer. And if I was in that situation where I just want to guaranteed something, and it's crazy that the Kraft has become the guaranteed tight end production of this year. But yeah, I think he's in a great spot. Very condensed target tree today in a matchup where they should be able to just move the ball at will. So totally safe. Definitely probably safer than McBride, but me, if I have McBride, he's in and it's not going to be restricted at all, I'm going Trey McBride. I have. And thank you so much, Steven, for that. And thank you so much, Gets Knowledge, for your super chat. So greatly appreciated, guys. So generous today. I have Patrick Mahomes, Rome, Tank, Garrett, Josh Downs, and Chris. I don't know who Chris Down is. Do I trade Rashid Shaheed for Jalen Hurts? I'd say, yeah, I think so. I, again, don't know who Chris – I don't know if you meant Chris Godwin Gets Knowledge. Because if it's Chris Godwin, even better. Like, this is a good receivers core. I would say, Josh Downs is great for right now. As long as Flacco's playing, love the guy. We'll definitely continue to play him. But that pumpkin's going to come soon enough when Anthony Richardson comes back. It's not nearly as beautiful. Cinderella will lose her shine. And I don't know that you like Rome, Tank. Like, I'd have Rashid Shaheed probably ahead of both those guys. You have Mahomes. What I would try to be doing if I was you in this situation is, like, could you package the name value of Mahomes and one of these guys, but also get, like, Jalen Hurts has been not very good. Somebody who has him in like way too many leagues, 4 out of 6 leagues right now, he's been a thorn in my side. So, like, I'm not sitting here really itching to get Jalen Hurts. Now, could you trade Mahomes and Tank and get Jane Daniels? Could you trade Mahomes and Tank and get Josh Allen? One of these, like, top 3 guys that you don't really question week in and week out. I think Mahomes still has some name value. He hasn't had over 20 fantasy points since last October. It's been almost a calendar year since we've seen him put 20 regular season fantasy points up on the scoreboard. So I am all for getting a quarterback upgrade. I'd see if you could use Mahomes' name value to combine with Rashid Shaheed if you have to. But Jalen Hurts isn't the one I necessarily am targeting right now. It does not look nearly as explosive as he has in years past. Saquon Barkley has made the tush push unnecessary. Yeah, when you have DeAndre Swift, we should have seen it coming. Like, DeAndre Swift, sure, yeah, you need to lean on Hurts more because he runs like a little soft insert word of choice. Whereas right now, they just don't need Jalen Hurts to run because Saquon Barkley is an absolute animal. Could it turn around for Hurts and get better? Better, because I'm screwed if not. But he's not the one I'm targeting. And gun in my head, yes, I would probably trade Rashid Shaheed for Jalen Hurts. I do think I'd rather have Hurts on my team. But I don't think your receiver depth is, like, once we have Downs, with Anthony Richardson, your receiver depth really isn't that great, unfortunately. Yeah, a lot of big play, boomer bust guys. But yeah, in a vacuum, I do trade Shaheed for Hurts. In your situation, I would see if you can get better because I don't know that Hurts is an upgrade to Mahomes. Yeah, but I don't know. I would if this is your only option, pull the trigger though. But I would try to see if you can do better because you don't need Mahomes on your roster anymore at that point. So see if you can capitalize on the name value. Alrighty, folks, that clears up the super chats. That cleans up all the rest of the news. So it is time for your questions. As said and promised at the beginning, I will go through 10 p.m. I know, or 10 p.m. Yeah, will not leave this seat. No, 10 a.m. As usual, as promised. I didn't start early, so I'm going to go for the usual remaining time here, even though the game will kick off at 9:30. Please do consider, as we go here, a thumbs up, the like button on Twitter, the thumbs up on YouTube, the reshare button. It would all be so greatly appreciated if you can for us. Free way. And of course, as always, the super chat is the way to cut the line if need be. And I would say if you have a 9:30 question and you haven't got it in early, you might want to just toss a super chat. I love it. I appreciate it. But also for your own sake, I don't know that if you just toss in a question, we'll get there before 9:30. Downs, JSN, or Ford in the flex half. I'm going Josh Downs. I feel really, really good about Josh Downs. I probably should have made him the title cover boy here today. A lot of questions on him coming in, and man, I think you got to play him for sure. Morning Wolf, PPR, Sermon or Tracy. I do lean Sermon here. I think better matchup, better shot this offense doesn't just completely combust. Tracy might have the better workload projection today, given that Goodson could work in, but I could also just see this being like Zach Moss type of 2.0 volume, not Zach Moss 2.0 the player. Sermon stinks, but there's going to be about 20-ish touches, I'd say, for him against a Jags defense that's just abysmal. So I think Sermon's a decent bet to score a touchdown, Tony. So I'm going to lean him. Happy game day to you, Mr. Krana. TJ Moore revenge game? It sure could be. You got the Panthers lining up, but he's got to get the rock from Caleb. We'll see. Chase Brown, Manuel Wilson, or Tyrone Tracy, Guillotine League. If I had to start one of these guys, excuse me. I got a little sick this weekend. Sorry, Krana. I am leaning, I think Chase Brown. Chase Brown versus Tracy is a really tough decision. Tracy seems to be the better bet for volume, the guy to step it up here. But I love what I saw from Chase Brown. Took over half the carries this last week. It's a really tough matchup against the Ravens, but yet they've also faced nobodies. They faced the Cowboys, these pathetic run teams. So, yeah, I think it's a really good run team. I'm not taking anything away from them. But ultimately, I do think they're a little inflated right now. And after what I saw from Chase Brown, I have a really hard time moving him to the bench myself. So I'm higher on Chase Brown than ECR. I'm going to go Chase Brown myself, though. Brian Thomas Jr. or JSN for the flex. Definitely Brian Thomas Jr. over JSN for me. McLaurin or Wicks. I don't know that my ratings reflect it, but I actually, if I had this choice, would be going Wicks. I feel better about Wicks today. So I'm going to make that change right now. Let me just quickly blow my nose here. Myself. I don't hit the mute button. I thought I hit the mute button. Sorry for the nose blow live on air here for you folks. Just what you wanted to hear this lovely morning. Thank you so much. We do get another super chat, but thank you, Con, again for all the questions. I will be right back to answer those after we get to the super chat here. Mike coming in with a second super chat. Thank you so much, buddy, for the double support here today. Flex PPR, Addison, Waddle, Myers, Hunt, or Sermon. I limit this one down to Addison versus Hunt. I know it's a tough matchup for Addison, but I do think Kevin O'Connell is a genius. I think he's going to work these guys into the right matchups. And Addison coming right back to a 2-touchdown day, looking every bit as explosive as we saw last year, even more so. I lean Addison. I think Hunt, obviously, a little safer in terms of just guaranteed 17 to 20-ish touches. Big fan of his play today, too. But, yeah, I lean Addison, I think, for the upside. That's really close. That's a really tough call. Hunt would be safer, but I like Addison more myself just for the upside there. Mike, let me know who you go. Good luck. If you just want safe and you want to play it with safe with Hunt, I think that's totally viable, totally fine for sure. But yeah, I'm going Wicks over McLaurin for that one. And I'm just making sure my rankings reflect that by bumping Wicks up even further. I don't know if I'm just over the top high on Wicks right now, but I just don't see a path to it failing given how good he's been whenever he's played. Unless it's just literally Josh Jacobs scores every single touchdown and they just bleed the clock all day, which is possible, but I do not expect it myself. Kirk or Pittman for the flex. Definitely Pittman myself with Joe Flacco today. Pick 2 PPR. DJ Moore, Higgins, or Reed. Definitely Jaden Reed. That's never should be a question. And yeah, I would go with your Chicago boy there and hope for the revenge game. Flex 2 PPR. Swift, Flowers, or Downs. I'm going Downs, and I'm going to go Flowers. I think this is a game where they will have to throw. Swift, they look great. So you want to go to Chicago boy. Him and Flowers are very close, but I'm going to go Flowers and Downs. Ferg or Muth, I'm definitely going Ferguson. Very steady, very consistent. One of the few tight ends you can bank in and week out. Thank you, Mr. Campanelli. Reminding you guys, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe to our show. They go live 3 times a week, help reach 5K and beyond. We'd love to have you. Seen some new names there down there in the chat. Would love to have you guys. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, we're making that climb about 30 away right now from 4,200. Each week, it seems like we pick up about another 100 or so more. It's amazing. It's so awesome to see the growth, but please do consider subscribing. We'd love to have you routinely join us as these regulars often do. We love having you guys. Thank you so much. Stroud or Geno, 6-point passing touchdowns for Mr. Kranishaw. I got to go Stroud and just hope for a shootout style game. And I do think that's going to happen here. It's a tough secondary, but I think he can do well. Flex 1 PPR, Najee, Keenan, Wan'Dale. It's tough to not go Wan'Dale in a full PPR. I know Najee, the volume will be there, but it's just been so gross. I think it's going to be so gross for Wan'Dale too, but I still think he's going to catch 10 balls. And that's like, in a full PPR, it's a scam, but I go with it. And you're welcome, Krana. See, reminds, like and subscribe, everyone. Wolf is the man. Thank you so much. Good sir. Joel, D. Adams is out. Superflex League. Need 2 starters at wide receiver. Don't want to start Hill, but if I have to, tell me. But my options are Kirk, Wicks, Allen, Wan'Dale, Robinson. I was thinking Wicks and Kirk. This is a pretty good one. I would definitely go Wicks. He's my favorite of your options here. I think Kirk is definitely playable. It is a really, really bad Colts secondary. The coverage they run the most, though, from the reading and listening I've been doing this week, not that this is death and taxes and guarantees, but from what I was reading, they run cover 3, the Colts, at the most, and that has really benefited Brian Thomas on the young season, and historically, Christian Kirk has not done well. It's been a detriment to his production. That being said, though, no Evan Ingram gets a nice higher floor for Christian Kirk today. It's a bad secondary. So, yeah, I'm leaning Kirk and Wicks. I'm with you there, Joel. That's how I would play it. If you choose Hill, should James Cook get benched at flex? No, I think James Cook goes over those guys. Next 2, Flex League, PPR, pick 2. Pittman, Wicks, Achane. I have him on bench, and it's hard for me. Yeah, I bench Achane here, sadly. It's just this Dolphins team's abysmal. As good as he is, as talented as he is, I thought maybe Achane's the type of guy that could just overcome any obstacle. These quarterback obstacles are proving too great for everybody, including Tyreek Hill, the best receiver in the game potentially. So, yeah, I think it's very fair to bench Achane with Flacco at QB. I think you can definitely go Pittman and Wicks in a full PPR. Last question, 2 flex again. Pick 2, Atwell, Downs, T. Higgins, Brian Robinson with knee and Eckler. I think Brian Robinson is a lock. I don't think he should ever be in a question with Tutu Atwell. Come on. I do think Downs is the other lock here, especially in a full PPR, Joel. I have him above Higgins. Just with Joe Flacco playing, it is just a guarantee. He's money. He's money with Joe Flacco. I feel great about that. And we do have another super chat from Mr. Dario. Thank you so much, Dario Raffini. Pick 2, Dell, Leggett, Odunze, or Wan'Dale Robinson. This is another reminder, guys. It does really help to put the scoring. I always assume half PPR if I don't get it. But like a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, for example, in full PPR, does get a humongous boost up. So it's well worth and very appreciated to put the scoring because it changes my answer for sure. I would go here. They're all very interesting guys. I probably would go Wan'Dale even regardless. I think he's a lock in full PPR. But in half PPR compared to these guys, like I said, I do think the neighbors being out does actually negatively impact him. I don't think you can get much more volume than he's getting, and I think it's just going to be less efficient, and it's already very inefficient. But I do think he's going to catch like 7 to 8 balls. I look at these other guys, and it's like, they're all boom busts in terms of Odunze versus Dell. Got 23-pointer for Odunze and nothing the next week when Keenan Allen comes back. He worries me. But that Carolina secondary is a joke. On the flip side, Leggett coming off a 20-point PPR day, 88% of the routes, 20% target share, like looking really solid. Chicago secondary is very good. And then you look at Tank Dell and has done nothing, but man, the guy can really boom when he booms. So it's like, all right, what do we do? What do we make of this situation? Let me just double check where I have Tank Dell. Because I don't think I updated it for him to be in at this point. So let me just make sure before the 9 p.m. game. Yeah, Tank Dell, I got to bump into where he belongs. So I'm doing a live ranking of Tank Dell. And I am putting him above Odunze. I have him I'm going to bump Odunze below Wan'Dale to represent that. I have him just below Jordan Addison at wide receiver 34. I do think I rank these guys for you. Wandale, Dell, and then Adunze, then Leggett is how I would rank them myself. And that's what I would go with. Thank you, Dario, for the super chat. Let me know if you have any further questions on that one. Kenny Newstead, Kyler or Darnold, also Ford or Javonte, half PPR. I think I got to go. I know I've said I'm not terrified of the Jets matchup. I actually love the revenge game narrative for Mr. Darnold, and I love my man Kevin O'Connell to make this the best possible offense, Kenny Newstead. That being said, despite the up and down nature of Kyler, despite the matchup today against San Fran, I still roll with him. They play a lot of man coverage, and Kyler historically has run well against this team, especially on the ground, like specifically, literally run well. So I lean Kyler here. The weapons with Trey McBride back are significantly better, and we've already seen the monster days that this guy is capable of. We've seen Darnold have a really nice, floor, and he's probably the safer play. But I lean Kyler. I think there's a lot more juice to starting him. I guess he has been, 14, 29, 16, 10. Like, it hasn't been great for Kyler, though. And the matchups haven't been overly, again, Washington, 10 points. You only throw it 22 times. That's not Kyler's fault, but it's also he's attached to this play caller, too. I am still going to go Kyler, but I get why this is a question, Kenny. My gut says Kyler outscores Darnold, though, this week. Despite it being a little ugly so far. They're going to need him. They're going to need him to beat the 49ers, in my opinion. They're not going to beat the 49ers, but they're going to need him to at least try. Ford or Javonte? I definitely go Ford here. We've seen that role again, get right back to the 70%-ish snaps and touch. Foreman's taken a clear-cut back seat. And you got the Commanders, which is the type of matchup that more so favors Ford, where they're likely playing from behind. They trust Ford far more as a pass catcher, pass protector than they do Foreman. I like Ford here. Javonte's done nothing all year. And it's sad because he was such a fun running back coming into the league, a prospect I loved. So good after tackles and breaking through, but just has not been that guy since his tough injury. And it's just such an inconsistent rotation there. I know Tyler Beatty being gone, or Bidet, it helps him, but I don't think it helps him enough that I put him over Ford, who's a nice, safe option, in my opinion. Alrighty. We left off with Jorge Martinez. Herrera, thank you again. We did cross the 1,000 viewer mark so far. You love to see it. Thank you guys so much. Over 1,000 of you here today. Each and every Sunday, we've now cleared that mark, and it's so greatly appreciated. With over 1,000 of you here, do your boy a real solid. Hit that thumbs up button if you don't mind on YouTube, the like button on Twitter, the retweet, the share. Get out to more people. Continue to grow it. And so many new names out there. Do consider subscribing and coming back. We'd love to have you help us climb to 5,000 this season is the goal. We're getting there. We're getting there at a good clip. So I'd love to see it continue that way. Jorge, my man, let's answer you. Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love? You're talking about my QB3 and my QB4 this week. Love it. And even in 6 points per touchdown. And now it gets even closer. Still leaning Jaden Daniels. I just cannot bench the absolute phenom that is this guy. Despite Jordan Love having the matchup, looking phenomenal this last week. I look at Jaden Daniels and I see 25 points in 3 out of 4 games, 25 or more, 28 in 2 of them. And I just can't bench him. It seems like he's only getting better and better each and every week. I'm riding that train. And Jordan Love looked phenomenal. The Rams, that matchup has a ton of juice to it too. I think these both are great plays, but I lean Daniels myself. Al Nazard or Cam Akers for Dex. Ooh, kind of said never Akers, but Mike Williams continues to get his role elevated by the week. Al Nazard is Rodgers' boy. It's a good secondary. It's a tough matchup. I don't know. I think I'm still on the never Akers train. It's the best possible matchup he could have. But, man, they were already mixing in 2 other running backs last week. Akers looked so bad. I'll just go for Lazard and hope for the touchdown. He has been Aaron Rodgers' boy in the red zone there. It's risky, but both those guys are risky. I think Cam Akers looks safer, but he's not actually. Dustin, half PPR, Wilson, Deontay, or Pickens, pick 2. Whew. I think I don't bench Deontay the way he's rolling right now. So this one comes down to Garrett Wilson versus Pickens for you, Dustin. I would lean, oh man, I think I go Garrett and then they try to force it to him and get him going. I just peeked at my rankings. I don't love to do that. I like to answer from the gut. I do have Garrett Wilson 16 and Pickens 18. So I knew it was close. I didn't realize it was that close. And it did lean with the gut of give Wilson a shot. This is your first round pick. Give him another try here. They're probably going to need some points against the Vikings. So I'm going to go Wilson and Deontay. Akers or Tracy, full PPR. I don't know that. I think Tracy could benefit more from the full PPR, the converted wide receiver. He's already got 4 catches, 40 yards on the season. I lean Tracy. I just don't ever want to go Akers, even though, again, best matchup and now no Dameon Pierce, probably going to be good. Tracy, I'm going to must start. Don't think he's a must start, Chris T. Depends who your other options are. I have him at running back 24, so certainly startable, certainly usable, but not a must start. I'd rather go Josh Downs. I'd rather go Dontayvion Wicks when we're looking at some of these other big pickups. I'd lean that way. King Retros, good morning. 2 in 1 question because I'm not sure if I should double down on QB receiver duo. CJ Stroud or Sam Darnold, Terry McLaurin, or Jordan Addison, flex. I would go a little weirded question here. I'm trying to follow here. If it comes down to CJ Stroud or Darnold, I go Stroud. Love targeting again that Bills-Texans likely shootout game. I think it's going to be a great one. And then Terry McLaurin or Jordan Addison, I would go McLaurin over Addison. And I like Addison a lot, but I like Terry McLaurin more. Clear number 1 for his team in a matchup that, should be solid here today against the Browns. Their secondary is not nearly what it was before. So, yeah, I'm going Stroud and McLaurin here. King Retros, thank you for your kind words, my man. Greatly appreciate it. Fields or Mahomes? I'm going Justin Fields, Jordan F. Again, like we said, Mahomes has not put up 20 fantasy points or more since October last year. Justin Fields, meanwhile, when he got pushed last week for the first time, over 30 fantasy points, looked damn good as a passer, making some huge big-time throws there, was Justin Fields. 32 fantasy points, 312 yards, 3 total touchdowns on the day, including 2 on the ground. Yeah, I'm going Justin Fields. I think this is a matchup where they could get pushed for sure. Miles Kalish asking here, good morning, man. Let's have an amazing Sunday. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Miles, as well. Should I start Jaden Reed or Stephon Diggs? Whew, great options here, but I absolutely go Jaden Reed. He is a top 5 wide receiver for me this week. Really top 5 rest of the season. And much as I do love Stephon Diggs, come on, let's go. Let's get Jaden Reed today. Revenge game for Diggs does look nice though, but no, Jaden Reed, my number 5 receiver. I love him this week. Brucey K, good morning from California. Great to see you, Bruce. Always love you. You've been here since day 1. Love that you're waking up from California. Yeah, that London game on tap. Early mornings for you guys over there on the West Coast, but awesome to see you still tuning in from over there. It looks like you're helping out people in the comments. Things that you love to see. All righty. And we got 10 minutes before London. I am, like I said, going to go till 10, even though the game is about to start. So we'll do a rapid fire, probably right around 9:30 when the game kicks off in about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll keep going, though. We usually do the rapid fire right around 15 minutes left. So keep it coming. But, of course, if you need to jump the line, feel free to do so in the Super Chat. It really, really does help your boy out here. Flex Wandale or Tank Dell. I'm going to go with the safety of Wandale there. OBJ, especially in a full PPR, but in half PPR as well. The only time I wouldn't do that is if it's standard league. I'd go for the upside of Tank Dell. But if you get any type of reception points, you got to go Wandale there. 5 a.m. in Cali. We do. I agree. Bruce K is as good as it gets in terms of the fandom. He has been here for a long time, Mr. Campanelli. An absolute legend is Brucey K here. Non-PPR flex pick 1, Thomas Jr., Wicks, or Ford. I'm going Thomas Jr. Huge fan of the guy. Biggest bet to be just booming, get that touchdown for you. So I'm going to go Brian Thomas Jr., PPR Wandale. But if you're underdog and need a huge boom, Dell. Yeah, I think in any type of PPR, I agree with that. It looks like you're Bruce says, I'm a fantasy nut, and I love it. You indeed are. Who do you think gets the most targets for Buffalo today? So that's what we were talking about Andre earlier today. I really wouldn't be shocked if it's Curtis Samuel. They talked about him being that fill-in for the natural kind of slot slide in for Shakir, and that role has been juicy. And it's also ultimately a slot funnel matchup against this Texans defense. They have been getting destroyed by slot receivers. We saw Christian Kirk garner, 14 targets last week against this team out of the slot. So I think it is Curtis Samuel. I know Kincaid, James Cook, more exciting weapons, probably the easier bet to say here, but I think Curtis Samuel blows up today. That's what I'm leaning. Lucio Ranelli. At PPR, pick 1 receiver, 1 flex. Achane, Deontay Johnson, BTJ, or Wicks or Worthy. I would go here. The wide receiver is Deontay. The flex is BTJ over Achane. Achane is scary. It's just so scary right now. This whole Dolphins offense, the way they've imploded. Maybe Huntley gets him back on the rails. Maybe Tua comes back at some point. For right now, though, if I can bench Dolphins, I do. And you can. You have great options here. It comes down to like BTJ versus Wicks is a very tough question for me. But I'm going to go BTJ. I am going to just quickly, Wolfpack, publish my rankings here. So I have a couple London updates I just did where I bumped Aaron Jones up a spot or two. Nothing crazy, no absurd updates. But I do want to make sure I get those in ahead of the kickoff. So thank you for your patience here while I'm just doing that. I know I've already begged a bunch of times, but we have nearly 1,100 of you here. If you could just consider giving your boy a thumbs up button, a like button, a retweet, a share. It is so greatly appreciated. A lot of you probably like, screw it. I'm sick of him asking, but it takes you 1 second. So please do consider that. And thanks again for all these super chats that you guys have sent in that have come to help us out. And Tunes coming in with a super chat as well. Speaking of the devil, while I push through this update here, need 2 running backs, full PPR, Stevenson, Allen, or Hill. Trying to think of who the Hill running back is. Justice Hill. Okay, got it there. This is a tricky one because but how long is that benching? Is he really going to play behind him the full game? I don't think so. And I think it's a great matchup against Miami. And these options just aren't that good, dudes. So I'm going to go Stevenson. And I think I'm benching Braylon Allen here. I love the guy as a handcuff. A must keep on your roster, no doubt, because if something happens to Breece Hall, Allen's to the moon. He's a top 5 running back. But Justice Hill certainly has the more clear-cut, like, I'm going to get volume in some shape or form. I mean, he's averaging a 14% target share on this year. He had 21 PPR points last week. Full PPR, like, Hill is definitely the guy there. He's a huge key part of their passing offense. 2 years, $6 million contract he just got from the team. Like, clearly they love this guy. Clearly they value him. So, yeah. And in a game against the Bengals, like, I think Henry's going to do his thing. Of course he is. But I could see Justice Hill getting a lot of volume as well. So I like going Hill. I like going Stevenson in this type of setting. Thank you so much, Tunes, for the super chat. All righty, back to the questions. Thanks again, guys, for your patience as I made sure to get my rankings updated. They are now live at rotostreetjournal.com. If you ever need those rankings, I'm going to keep updating them throughout the morning as we get more news. PPR, Ford or Achane? I think I'm going Ford. Just going to go with the safety of Jerome Ford at this point. I do not want to trust the Dolphins offense. Very risky to bench Achane. I get it, but I do. QB, Daniels or Love? Oof, I go Daniels. Jane Daniels. But, man, my top QB3 and QB4. So you're really hurting me, making a tough choice here to do. But I think Daniels, again, 25 points in 3 or 4 games, 28 in 2 of those 4. I love Jane Daniels. It's tough to bench him. And we got Leggett. Oh, we got a super chat. So I'm going to jump on over to Sue. Need to start 1 half PPR. Keenan Allen, Chase Brown, Dowdle, or Antonio Gibson. Thank you. I would lean. Oh, man, Sue, this is a really tough one here. I think I'm going Chase Brown. I'm just going to go for the ceiling and go for that huge big playability. It's tough. And I've seen the analysts that, they're going to get down to the Ravens. They're going to need to throw. They trust Zach Moss much more in pass protection. So I've seen all that, and I think it makes sense, and I think it's fair. It's not without its credence. But there's the world where like this team can run the ball really well. They've done it every single week. The Bengals have. The Ravens have faced nobody in terms of running backs other than Isaiah Pacheco, who had a good day in week 1. James Cook, they did stifle last week. But the other 2 matchups have been jokes. So I kind of like Chase Brown here. I think we saw maybe the changing of the guard here. Just a lot of juice to this guy. If I had to pick like a safest pick, I do think it's Dowdle. But against the Steelers, is that safe? I don't know. Gibson's probably the highest of the ceilings here. Like, he's going to start. If he does really well on the first drive, I could see him getting all the work moving forward for this week and maybe even more so. But if he gets stuffed, 3 straight runs, he's been good. He's averaged over 5 yards a pop, over 3 yards per run. Like, he's been extremely efficient, one of the most efficient backs in the league. But this is the Pats. It's a terrible team. It's my team. I openly admit how bad they are. If he just gets stymied right from the jump, if he fumbles, he has fumbling woes himself, how ironic would that be? Wouldn't shock me. There's a lot of risk to Antonio Gibson being just a complete dud, too. So I go Chase Brown here. These are all in the same tier to me. Don't like Keenan Allen. I just never been a Keenan Allen guy this year. I shouldn't say never been a Keenan. I've been a huge Keenan Allen guy his whole career. Since he joined the Bears, I didn't draft him anywhere. Never recommended him. Not the play for me ever. But yeah, I go Chase Brown of this options. A lot of similarly ranked guys, though, Sue. Really good question. Thank you so much for your support, for your super chat. I wish I could have given you a more clear, like, this is definitely the guy. Try to outline a few cases for them all. But yeah, I do think I'm going him there. Chase Brown. All righty, full PPR. We got. Oh no, I think I missed a couple here. We were at this one, Daniels or Love. So we're now at Leggett or Jacoby Myers. Tough matchup for Myers, but I don't think that Surtain will shadow him, given how much they move him around. So I'm going to go Jacoby Myers there myself. Ready. At least muted that one. I got it right this time. But yeah, a little stuffed up here today. The fall allergies are starting to kick in. So thank you guys for dealing with me. Well, I get this out of the system here. But no, Jacoby Myers, over 40% first read target share in his first game without Adams. Didn't have huge numbers, but he's definitely become that main number one receiver there, and that's where I lean. And then we have Bruce answering a bunch of questions. Greatly appreciated. I think, Kenny, you might have super chatted this one, but I do go Jerome Ford pretty easily ahead of Javonte. Is there upside of Javonte? Maybe, but we haven't seen it in a long time from him. BTJ or Deontay. In a full PPR, I got to go Deontay. I mean, those targets these last few weeks have been nothing short of remarkable for the guy. So yeah, I mean, Deontay Johnson, the first read targets, all that stuff is just too juicy to pass up. I know it's not the best of matchups here, but I don't know. I with Dalton, you've probably seen the clip too of Dalton being like, I'm just going to keep coming back to you. I'm going to keep coming back to you time and time again. Like, this is as safe as it gets right now, in my opinion. I love BTJ too. I really do, but I'm going that way. We got Joanna coming in with Tank or Charbonnet. I'd go Tank. To me, Charbonnet, once Kenneth Walker got healthy, he's right back to like handcuffed with very small benefits. He'll get in there. He'll get a couple carries, a couple catches. But this is the Kenneth Walker show. They've said that as much. They've been outright and said, like, we trust Kenneth Walker. He's one of the best running backs we've ever seen. When he's healthy, he's our guy. And that's how it's played out every time Kenneth Walker has been available. He's been the clear guy. So I just see Charbonnet much less chance to do really anything, whereas Tank Dell is at risk too. He's behind two huge mouths in Diggs and then, of course, Nico Collins. But whereas Charbonnet is probably only get 5 to 6 touches, maybe Tank Dell only gets 5 to 6 touches, but he is much more likely on one of those touches to go absolutely nuts, to blow through the entire defense. So yeah, I go Tank Dell of those options right there. Joanna, thank you. Good question, but yeah, I'm going to go Tank Dell myself. Sorry, I thought we had a super chat, so I'm going to now move to Mr. Giuseppe Russo. Cooper, Wandale, or Trey Tucker, definitely Amari Cooper. He's facing the Commanders, folks. Like, this is a matchup you play every wide receiver one against, no doubt about it. Lamar or Daniels. Oof. Giuseppe, that's going to be a headache for you all year. You got to trade one of these guys and capitalize on your depth here. I go Lamar this week. I think he's always had him and Cincy, like, those games have always shot out. I think I forget the exact number, but it's something like in their last 8 games, the total's been over 50 points. 6 of the 8, and one of those times it didn't. It was like Lamar wasn't playing. So it's something like, I think it's like in 6 of Lamar's last 7 games or 8 games against them, the total's been 50 points. They've all gone nuts. So yeah, I'm going to go Lamar. But man, great options. I would definitely consider trading one of those guys and maximizing it. My last decision comes to Shaheed or Wicks in non-PPR. 110% Wicks. Guy absolutely balls out every time he gets used. So Shaheed's great. 27% target share, better than we all expected this year. But Wicks, just again, anytime he plays 70% or more of the routes, dominates. Like, goes nuts. 13 targets last week. Gets the Rams, the gorgeous setup here. Blunt brush. So yeah, I'm going to go Wicks there as well. Over 1,100 of you, my man, Coach Zeke. Great to see you. Another plea. We got about 30 minutes left till kickoff. In about 15 minutes, I am going to set the 15-minute timer. We're actually at kickoff, but 30 minutes till I wrap up the show. I did promise I'll go to 10 today, despite the game kicking off. So I will continue to answer these questions, but would love if you guys could just throw out that thumbs up button. It would be so greatly appreciated. If you're willing to toss a super chat, we can have you cut the line. We've already gotten 15 of them today. You guys are so generous, so greatly appreciated. But the free way to support your boy, the like button on Twitter, the thumbs up button on YouTube, subscribing, getting us over that 5K hump. We could hit 4,200 today's show if all the new people here hit subscribe. We'd love to have it. It would mean the world. My man, Coach Z, great to see you. Good morning. Who you got? Full PPR. Rico, Eckler, Allen. You have Brees and one running back or one receiver. So I think of these running backs, I do go Rico. Full PPR, though, it boosts Eckler. We know the elite pass catcher that he is. I wouldn't go Braylon Allen, I'll tell you that, especially with Brees Hall. But even if I didn't have Brees Hall, he's probably the third option here for me, but especially without him. Let me think on Eckler. I want to just make sure I have him ranked. Did I not put Eckler in my rankings this week? I know I had him in my PPR. I think I would go Eckler. I know Brian Robinson's playing, but in a full PPR, I think there's a lot of validity to playing Austin Eckler over Rico Dowdle. Because you just, again, it's the Steelers defense. You know, he had that one touchdown last week, but like that doesn't make me feel fully confident myself. So yeah, I'm gonna go Eckler there in a full PPR. We saw Jeremy McNichols in the running back 2 role get 2 touchdowns. Like this is a phenomenal scheme for the running backs here. Cliff Kingsbury's always been very fantasy friendly to running backs. So yeah, I'm gonna go Eckler there, and then for the wide receivers, Lockett, Mike Will, Tutu, Downs, and the guys you mentioned above for flex. So Downs is the clear-cut wide receiver for me. And then I think I go with Tutu. He's been really getting it done. It's maybe one more week of validity, but 80 yards back-to-back weeks, 12 PPR plus points in back-to-back weeks. I think I go Tutu for those other options. Yeah, great questions so far, guys. Let's keep them rolling. It does look like we have a super chat. Thank you, Campanelli, for doing the Lord's work there as the moderator. Mr. Papasano, coming in with your second super chat of the day. Thank you so much, man. So generous of you to be doing that. Would you go Harris over Connor today? I would not. I know Harris got everything lined up for him. No Jalen Warren. Probably no Cordarrelle Patterson here. I get it. Like it should be the Harris show. It probably will be the Harris show. And then I look at it and I see 13 carries for 19 yards. Bad weather games is where Harris does seem to do his best. It looks like there's going to be some rain there tonight. I get it. But James Conner's a monster right now, man. Like he is coming off 200-yard days so far in his 4 games. He's had over 20 PPR points in 3 out of his 4 games this year. When he's healthy, there's just nothing better than James Conner. So I keep rolling James Conner. I know San Fran doesn't seem like the best of matches, but their run D has not been nearly as intimidating as years past here. So I'm definitely going James Conner for sure, Mr. Papasarno. And he reminds you guys, like and subscribe, y'all. Best fantasy channel on the tube. Thank you so much, man. So generous of you with your super chats each and every week. Double them up today is just so appreciated for sure. All righty. We have Rex and Bruce having a nice combo in there. So I'll let you guys keep helping each other out. Awesome. Gino, Deshaun, or Trevor, pick one. I go Gino. I love the way Gino's been playing right now. Giants matchup, not scary at all. So I'm leaning Gino myself. And then we got Giuseppe, pick 2, half PPR. Akers, Javonte, Rico Dowdle, or Chase Brown. I would go. I don't know. I don't feel great about Dowdle as I thought I would this week. I'm leaning. I think I'm leaning Javonte. No, I'm going Chase Brown. I feel okay about Chase Brown. I don't love him with the tough matchup, but I love the talent. I love what I saw last week. So I'm going to go Chase Brown and play for the upside here. Chase Brown's getting a lot of questions today, and maybe I'm wrong. I worry about him. If you're worried about the floor bottoming him out, go with Javonte. But I'm going to go Chase Brown myself. Fields or Mahomes? I'm going to go Fields easily over Mahomes. Mostert droppable. He could be. Depends who's out there. But, yeah, could be. And I'm going Daniels over Kyler every time. Giuseppe Russo. Anyone scared of the rain in Colts-Jags game? I haven't seen how bad that is, Ryan. I don't typically overrate rain. It's wind that worries me more. So if it's a bad windstorm to go with it, I'd be worried. But for me, rain doesn't typically do it unless it's a monsoon. Start one at flex. Braylon Allen, Trey Sermon. I'm going to go Trey Sermon for that one, Campanelli. Sorry if you missed that one before kickoff. But I do think Trey Sermon's by far the better bet for volume here. Need a flex. Worthy, Flowers, or Thomas Jr. I would go Thomas Jr., Jordan F. I feel best about him. I think he's going to blow up against that horrendous Colt secondary, that run coverage that he usually murders, that cover 3 clip there. I like Braylon for a TD as an owner of him too. Hey, there we go. Let it rip, baby. Love to see it. Start Flacco versus Jax or Kyler versus San Fran. I do go Kyler, but man, Flacco is like honestly the safer option today. I think I couldn't bench Kyler and then watch him put up a 30-point day. But man, like if you really want safety, I think Flacco's better bet for 18. But I go Kyler there myself. Good morning, brother. Need a flex. Addison or Shaheed? Thank you in advance. PPR matchup. I love Addison. I really do. I know the time may have already passed for you, Michael, but I would have gone Addison myself. If you got to have Shaheed in, that last 8-catch, 80-yard day, you love to see it. Full PPR, probably actually a little bit safer to go Rashid Shaheed. My gut says Addison. I did actually have Shaheed higher in my rankings, and Addison's already going, so we'll see. Let me know what you ended up going, but yeah, I would have gun to my head, probably gone Addison there for sure. How common are we in Ayuk this week? Surely has to be his get-right game. It should be. You look at like wide receiver cornerback matchups. This is like one of the more advantageous matchups you could possibly get for him. Part of me is also like he's in the doghouse and they're not dialing his number on purpose because of the holdout. Shanahan's done that before. So I think it is the get-right game. It certainly should be. But I do have him a little bit lower than the ECR on the risk that it's not. Like it just hasn't been his year. So essential vibes, he should, yes. And I have no decisions myself where I don't play Ayuk. But if you have a sit start, I would maybe go Josh Downs over him in a full PPR. Today we're going Kyler in that one. But it is, again, closer than you might feel. We're going Fields over Mahomes for sure. I feel very confident. Again, Mahomes has not put up 20 fantasy points since last October. Big fan of going Fields today when they're going to get pushed in tonight's game. With no Lawrence or Parsons, I think Harris has a good game. I think the defensive injuries should not be overrated, but they didn't have him against the Giants, and they really stuffed the run there. Harris just stinks. It's a great matchup, Bruce. Everything should be on paper good for Najee today. He should dominate the workload. It's just him. Yeah, Fields over Mahomes. It seems like you're answering some great questions. Thank you, Bruce. You're the best here in the chat, helping the folks out early morning over there in California, still showing up, still helping them out, and giving mostly similar opinions to me. But I love that there's like different opinions going on at some of these. It helps everybody out to get a couple sides. Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning, Cap for Life. Love a nice optimistic greeting like that. Can't make up my damn mind, Stephen Youngberg. Yeah, that was the Najee or Swift. I'm going Swift there. It's a tough one, though. They're really neck and neck, like two spots in the rankings. Kyler or Geno? Again, Geno's probably safer, but I got to keep rolling Kyler. A lot of questions coming in on him. I can understand the frustration, but I think the upside is just too much to bench myself. Flex, Whittington or Tolbert and tight end. I'm going to go Whittington over Tolbert, Cap for Life. 8 targets last week. Led the team in target share and routes run. Finally kind of earned that trust of Matthew Stafford, who came out and said, this is big for this guy. He's earned his keep. That's awesome to see. So I'm going to go Whittington. I think a better bet, even with, what's his name, Brandon Cooks out. I do think that's the better play. Tight end, Jay Vill, Strange, or Johnson. I don't even know who Jay Vill is. I think you're saying Jacksonville Strange. All right. I was like, you've named a player. It's very rare that somebody gets named. I'm like, I actually don't know who that is. Strange, I get it. Brenton Strange or Johnson from the States. That's a really good one. I am going to lean Johnson. We've seen the big games from him in the past, and the Chiefs are the best possible matchup. So if you're desperate for a streamer, I think Johnson is where I lean more there. Start Swift, especially PPR. It says Rod for the tough choice that Stephen Youngberg was wrestling with, and I agreed there for sure. And Bruce likes Geno over Kirk. Again, over Kyler, rather. Certainly justifiable. Not impossible. But, yeah, I would go Kyler myself. Happy Sunday. Full PPR. I'm a favorite, so looking forward to a safe play. Great context to have, DJ Johnson. You always word your questions very, very admirably here, so easy to understand. JSN, Higgins, or Worthy? This is a tricky one because I know you said you prefer the safe play here. And it's like, okay, I do think JSN and Higgins are both better bets to probably see 8 to 10 targets. So you're probably going to get like 5 catches, 60 yards from both those guys. Although, I mean, again, both have been very inconsistent this year. And we've only really had one ceiling game out of JSN, no ceiling games out of Higgins. Maybe it is against Baltimore. I probably do lean Higgins here if you really want safety, given that those 10 targets last week. But, like, Worthy's the least safe, and I know you want safety. I also have Worthy the highest in my rankings. I'm very excited to see what he does without Rashee Rice. I could see 2 grenades from Mahomes here. Plus, he is good after the catch. He's good in the screen game. like I said, you can't do like the Amon-Ra, like over the middle layup that we were seeing from Rice. He can run those routes. He can do those catches. He would just break down. Like he's too small. And I don't think they're going to design that for him. But a handful more screens, handful more deep shots coming his way. I like Worthy. Like he's my favorite play here. I have him higher than both guys. But if you wanted a little safer than him, I do think Higgins is a little bit safer, DJ. But I would roll Worthy myself. Forgot to add Tank Dell, Whittington, or Tolbert. I would go Tank Dell in that case. I just roll the talent, roll for the big play. I like Whittington, but not that much. If I don't have to go to him, type of situation. Alrighty, we got Cam A. Oh, we do have a super chat coming on in from Hillary Stagina, I believe that name is. What's going on, Hillary? Jonathan Taylor is out. I need a running back. My entire team is benched. So I'm by here. Well, let's look at the team real quick for the super chatter from the from my living room over there. Thank you, Hillary. Now in the kitchen right now, meal prepping for the week. Yeah, you got Gibbs on by, Dobbins on by. Ooh, this is tricky.
It sure is.
Let's see who's out there for running backs. There's nobody really good of note here. Oh man, this is bad, Hills.
I know. It's really bad.
I was gonna look for Gibson. He's already in your lineup. Sorry, folks, but the wife does get prioritized here on Sundays, and she super chatted. Not only that, but she did super chat. I'm gonna say Samaje Perine of these terrible options. He scored a touchdown last week.
Who do I drop?
Samaje Perine. And then we'll drop.
More about the drop than who
I know. Maybe I would drop either Leggett or Lockett, your choice.
Okay.
I'd probably drop Lockett, but
all right.
Your choice. Thank you so much. And thank you for your patience out there, folks, as I adjust the wife's lineup. She did super chat, and super chats always get to cut the line. We had a tough decision with all her buys. She had Gibbs on by, Dobbins on by, Taylor hurt, and already had Antonio Gibson in the lineup as one of the replacements. And so we had to dive deep into the waiver wire dumpster there. We went Samaje Perine. So just to toss that out to you folks, like if you're desperate and you really don't know who to go, like the other guy out there that's projected decent was Jaleel McLaughlin, and I just don't trust Denver running backs right now. So Samaje Perine is probably the best of the trash that's out there, a potential touchdown scorer. I'm just going to check my running back rankings quick, just toss out there. Cam Akers, Hills, is he out there? I'm going to toss out a couple, like, I'm going to toss out some names for you to consider. Okay. Justice Hill, probably not out there. Tyrone Tracy, I think, got picked up. These are guys I would take ahead of Samaje Perine for the folks out there. And Roschon Johnson, no. Emmanuel Wilson?
Johnson's available.
Is Emmanuel Wilson out there?
Hold on. Pause.
Or Tank Bigsby?
Wilson's not.
And Bigsby. All righty, folks.
Okay, no. But that other guy that you
Roschon? I would go Roschon over Perine.
Okay. Well, I just dropped Lockett, so.
So then Perine going to the trash bin as well. All righty, folks. Back to your questions. Thank you again. Super chatting, Hillary. And we got one other super chat. Tyler Sperry. Start 2. Dell, Ford, Hurt, or Hurt. I'm guessing that is Hunt, Tyler. Now, if not, my man Camp, I was watching. He will let me know if there's a correction. He meant Hunt. Okay, so we got it right. I would go Ford and Hunt. And, also you could drop one to get downs. Okay. That's tough. Because, like, it's tough to drop Tank Dell because if anything happens to Nico or Diggs, smash play. You can't really drop him. I think, Downs is the best play of all three of these guys. I would like to put him in there. It is more of it's less of a full season thing because it is only when Flacco's in, to me. Oh, man, Tyler. Is there anybody else you can drop than any of these three? Because if not, I'd probably keep it with what it is. Although, like, Ford, how much longer is his rope? You have Chubb coming back. Hunt, probably the future back there, but not a guarantee. Like, Downs is the best play here. But I'm not dropping Dell because the upside's too big if something happens to the two guys in front of him. And I don't really want to drop the best handcuff to Nick Chubb because we don't know when he's going to be back, and Ford's been good. And Hunt is probably the Chiefs' #1 running back. So it's Ford or Hunt. Oh, man. I would probably drop Hunt, though, and pick up Downs if I could and put him in there because that's how good I think he's going to be today, Tyler. But if there's anybody else you can drop, I would try to first. But thank you so much for the super chat. If you really don't want to drop any of those three, which I understand, I would go Ford and Hunt. But I think I would drop Hunt and put Downs into my lineup today. Really tough question. Really good stuff. Thank you so much for the super chat there as well. Alrighty. We left off here. We were at DJ Johnson. And so we are, excuse me, Cam Akers or Zach Moss. I'm definitely going Zach Moss. Cam Akers, whether it's Taylor, whether it's Bunwally, like they're mixing in other people there. It's the best possible matchup for running backs, but I'm going to go Zach Moss there. With no Patterson or Warren and Lawrence and Parsons out for Dallas. I know Harris has not looked great, but it's a smash spot. Famous last words with Najee Harris. They were even mixing in some other guy. I get it. Everything looks right for Harris. In the weather, too. Like, I know the weather is even better because that's where we've heard Mike Tomlin say mud games, rain games. You lean on Harris. Should smash. I have been running back 18. Like, he's a startable guy in my lineup, but we're getting questions of, like, Brian Robinson or Najee Harris. James Cook, Chuba Hubbard or Najee. Like, those are easy for me. It gets harder. You know what, Bruce? I'll do this for you. I am gonna bump Zach Moss below Najee and put Najee to running back 17. But I'm still going Jerome Ford over him. But I don't know. I love all the points, Bruce. It's true, but he just sucks. He's so bad. I don't think it's a smash box. I don't know that Najee is capable of smashing anymore. Boba Yoga. Hope Sermon does well today. A lot of people are hoping well for Sermon today. He's going to get the volume. Whether he can do anything with it, we will find out. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a rapid fire here. We're about 10 minutes away from the 10 a.m. wrap up here. So I'll put 11 minutes. I'll do 12. I was a few minutes late today, so I got on at 8:03. So I'm going to sign off at 10:03. 13 minutes rapid fire. Here we go. I know you super chat this one. Tunes. I go Stevenson and Justice Hill. Tracy's close, but I don't know who you would drop for him. Shaheed, Kirk, or Eckler. I would go Christian Kirk there. Andrew. Boba Yoga, helping the people out there. Love to see it. Thank you so much. Mackenzie Crawford, Achan Wicks, Brian Thomas. I am going Brian Thomas. Very slightly over Wicks. Achan somehow the third option for me there. Terry or Shakir rest of season. I'd probably go Terry the way that they're trending, and we just know he's a great talent. Pick one. From Eric, Mr. Lucky Schaefer. Hey, Mr. Lucky, welcome to the show. I'd probably go Garrett Wilson. If you didn't have him in the lineup, I would say Wicks definitely over Hunt for me. Tough one, though. For sure. Pick up Tracy. I think New England's benching Stevenson. But I still think they're benching him to start. I still think you're going to get some good burn out of him in a really good matchup. Full PPR, need boom for DJ. Again, the context as always. Connor, JSN, or Kirk. I do still go Connor. It's floor and boom. He's got like 20 points in over half his game and just doing really solid stuff. Not sure why it keeps posting my comment over and over. No problem, Boba Yoga. I appreciate you calling it out. I saw it repeat. You're not in timeout or anything. You're the man. Helping out everybody. Love it in the chat. Flowers, Leggett, or Winnington. I would go Zay Flowers there, J-Dub. I think that game, they're going to need to throw it more than usual, and we've seen Flowers be the main vein of that attack. Sutton or Tank Dell, full PPR. I think this week I go Sutton. I think the rest of the season, it is Tank Dell for me, but this single week, we've seen Sutton. 30% target share type of guy, and he's playing well. I roll Sutton there, Matthew Noto. Ford, Hunt, Hubbard, Etienne. Which three to start? I bench Etienne there, Eric E. I like the other three quite a bit, and certainly Hubbard the most there for sure. Achan or Wicks at flex. I'm going Wicks there myself for right now. After a tough Thursday night football, it's not looking good versus my wife, says Billy Jakir. Need a wide receiver, tight end, and flex. So I like the context too. We need to go for a bigger swing upside here. So let's see what we can do. Sutton, Kincaid, Kraft, Downs, Chase Brown, looking for upside. Thanks, says Bill Jiggs. I love the wife versus husband matchup we've got going on there too. Civil War. Bryce is the Bryce Bruiser is scared in his household right now for the Civil War that's about to unfold. I love it. Sutton, Kincaid, Kraft, Downs, Chase Brown. I think Downs, full PPR especially, by far the best receiver here. I think you got to go Kincaid at tight end. As much as I do like Curtis Samuel, I think he's probably the ends up as the number one pass catcher there. He could be nothing. And I think Kincaid's, especially with no Shakir, is going to be leaned upon more. It does come down. This is a tough flex choice, Billy Jigs, with Sutton, Kraft, and Chase Brown. I think I am leaning Sutton. It doesn't seem like it's the highest upside play, but like it's also, he's just been so safe and steady, like to see 10 plus targets in full PPR. It really goes a long way. I'd like to say Chase Brown has the highest ceiling and you go with him, but the downside is just so big with him. And I think Sutton's ceiling isn't too far off either. So I think in this situation, and Kraft is great too. Like I'm very excited for a very condensed target tree for Jordan Love and a really good matchup. Like there's a lot of good juice here. I think Jay Downs, Kincaid are the locks. I personally would go Sutton next, but you could really rotate any of those three and that would be justifiable for the flex. They all have their upside narrative. So best of luck, Billy Jigs. Let me know what you decide on. Terry or Shakir rest of season. I know you just asked that one. We said Terry. Alrighty. And then we are going HN or Wicks at flex for DY. We are going Wicks. What's up, Seamus? Let's go indeed. Dance emoji. Love to see it there. Thank you for all the help so far this year. Of course, Mr. Seamus. Steve Piz. Good morning. Full PPR. Tyrone Tracy or Javonte Williams. Oh, this is Pizamenti over at Kip. If so, good to see you again, Steve Piz. If not, I know another Steve Piz now. I think I'm going Javonte Williams. I'm just the player. It's more so I think they're just going to get completely stuffed today. It's going to be ugly. So I do not like the Giants against the Seahawks at all. So I'm going to go Javonte there. I think they can run on the Raiders and no Tyler Bidet, which was a big risk for him. Kyler Crescenzo. Start two of Brian Thomas, Etienne Wicks, Ayuk, and Tyreek. I'm going to go Brian Thomas, and then he's my favorite of these options, Kyle. It comes down to Wicks or Ayuk for me. I lean Wicks. I know it's a little riskier, but just a very condensed target tree there. It looks like Brucey agrees with me there. Bruce K. Corey Jones, start McBride or Bowers. I'm gonna go Bowers there for sure. And then Myers or Leggett. I like the target share of Myers there. Sure. You're a good man, Wolf. Very genuine. Hey, I appreciate that, Bruce. Thank you so much. You're the best. I know you've been here from day one, and it's so cool to still see you still here helping out people in the chat, getting my takes, giving me good pushback. Like it's awesome to have you. So you've been the man, and I appreciate your kind words very, very much so. Thank you so much, Bruce. Alejandro Dielson, Mixon or Jacobs rest of season. I got to go Jacobs. This injury continues to linger for Mixon. He was hurt in the preseason, and it looked great in that week one. There's certainly upside to him, but Jacobs is just a great feature back in the in a good offense. Like it's tough. And feature back loosely. We're seeing Wilson mix in for about 40% of it, but yeah, I do prefer Jacobs myself. B. Thomas or Wicks. I'm gonna go Brian Thomas, but man, do I love Wicks today. Rich need to win. Boss Garrett Wilson or Don Wicks. I would have had Garrett Wilson higher. You could totally go to Wicks though if you did. So very tough call though. We'll see. Willie saying Hunt, Downs, or Sermon. I am going Downs there myself. It's where I lean. It looks like from my man moderating over there, Campanelli saying we might have a Darnold injury. How brutal if he goes down against the Jets, who like finally his career's taken off. And the Jets almost ruined his career. And now maybe they not ruin his career, but like take him out in a year where he is going off. So we will be monitoring that. I go Downs in this one though, especially in full PPR will be. QB Fields or Murray. I go Fields today. I'm going to go Fields. I don't know if I have that in my rankings, but I'm going to make sure I do. Flex Stevenson, Jennings, Leggett, Tucker. Thank you. I am going to go Stevenson. It's tough, but I do, despite getting benched, I think he's going to still have a pretty decent day here. I think Gibson could take it over. We'll see, but I do think so. Kyler and I like Tucker the best of those four, but it's close. Yeah, so good takes indeed, but yeah, tough. Darnold or Kyler. As I said earlier, I would have gone Kyler, despite this one being close. I think Kenny, you super chatted that one, and we got to that. And I do have Justin Fields above Kyler Murray. Good to see. Just want to make sure. Nancy Story Trakeoff asking, should I start Fields or Burrow at QB? Thanks, Wolf. You're welcome, mother. I would go Burrow. I think they're going to need to throw. I think against Baltimore, we've seen, as mentioned there, I forget the exact stat, but I think it's in 8 of the last, there's been 8 of matchups across the last few years. And in 6 of them, it's gone over 50 total points. And only one of those, the ones that didn't, Lamar didn't even play. So I think we get a fun game. I think we get a shootout. I think Burrow, the Baltimore Ravens, great run D, but they're giving up the most 20-plus yard pass plays of the entire NFL right now. So they can be thrown upon. They can be thrown upon deep. And that's where it's like Burrow goes nuclear. I think that upside's a little better. I love Fields today too. I have it Burrow 5, Fields 7. You could justify Fields, especially because they might be down. And Fields in the negative game script. We saw it last week, 312 passing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 32 points. There's huge upside there. But I'm leaning Burrows. It's a really good question, though, Nancy Story Trakeoff. Daniel Howland, pick a flex, Dell, Bowers, Roshan Johnson, full PPR. I got to go Bowers there. I know last week was a disappointment, but the clear number 1, you got to roll with it. Full PPR for Mountain Man, Aaron Jones, Chuba Hubbard. Mac, you super chat this one, and I said bench and James Cook, but man, that was a tough one right there. And Bruce saying bench Chuba. I get it. He's the least talented one, but man, he's been rock solid for sure. Start 3, sit 1, full PPR. Cooper, Ayuk, Hill, Najee, Harris. I am going to sit Tyreek Hill in that one, Justin. Just the biggest risk of those guys. Shepard says McBride playing. Good news to have, and Kittle playing. Great to have there as well. How do you feel about Njoku? I mean, it's better than most tight ends probably, given how bad the position is. I'm starting Kraft over him, though, too, if that gives you a good measuring stick. DJ Moore, T. Higgins. I'm going to go for the revenge game of DJ Moore, the bad defense there. Rap Sheet did say Njoku going to be eased in. We've seen Rap Sheet say that about like McCaffrey before, and then McCaffrey had 30 touches. So take it with a grain of salt, but it is good to note, like, it might not be a smash. And for whatever reason, Washington's secondary has been really good against tight ends and horrible against the outside. So take that one with a grain of salt there. Sure. I had Patrick Mahomes, Rome, Tank, Garrett. You super chat that one earlier. Gets knowledge. Thank you again for your support. But we already covered that one. Happy PPR. Use McLaurin or Wicks. I'm going Wicks, baby. And I think the Jets are a fine defense. I don't know how they're going right now, but there's just a talented lineup there. Javonte or Shaheed in the flex. I'm going Rashid Shaheed for the big play there, blunt brush. Playing McBride, but Kraft should be good. Yeah, I get it. I think both, now that we know that he's in, then that changes. I have Sermon, Gibson, and Charbonnet. Secretary's Delphi. I need to start 2 full PPR. I don't believe in Charbonnet either. He's just a handcuff. He's a great guy to have on the bench because we know he can get you some good value. But yeah, for right now, Sermon and Gibson are the better bets to get volume. Going with Pickens, Whittington, Downs, or Leggett in the flex this week. I would definitely go Pickens of those options there. Kyler, Fields, or Flacco. I am going to go Fields of those options, Travis Webb. Sermon, so we got another answer from Bruce. Thank you so much, Bruce. Pick 2, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and or Deontay Johnson. I would have gone Deontay and Garrett. If you bench Garrett, him and Olave are very close for me. You're welcome out, man. Thank you so much for your support. Lost Richardson, roll with Flacco or Lawrence. I like going Flacco over Trevor Lawrence today. Let me make sure I have I got to get Anthony Richardson out, and I got to make sure Flacco is in there. But yeah, I'm going Flacco over Lawrence. I think it's safer with similar ceiling. I mean, Lawrence hasn't even topped 180 pass yards on the year, and he's at the lowest completion percentage in the league. Yeah, I don't want to trust him ever. So I'm not. Here we go for the next one. Flex 2, Connor, B-Rob, Wicks, Higgins. Oof. I go the 2 running backs there, Connor and B-Rob. They're locks, especially in half PPR. As much as I do love Wicks there. That's a tough one. Then we got Good Morning, half PPR, Wicks, Shaheed, or Kirk in the flex. I am going to go Wicks of those options. Matiez is where I lean. Tracy Jr. or Hunt. I go Kareem Hunt there, RP10. Wicks. So we got some other ones. Help. I need a running back. Everyone I have on the buy, and Jonathan Taylor. That was Hillary super chat earlier. Thank you so much again for your support, Hillary. Wicks or Downs. I go Wicks. Very, very close. So at full PPR, it's even closer, but I still go Dontayvion Wicks there. Josh Jacobs or Wicks. I'm going to go with Jacobs and just ride that one out for sure. 49ers are bad versus tight end, and Warner usually doesn't cover the tight end. Yeah, I do like McBride, and I think it's a good play here, Bruce, in good context to add. Gino or Kyler. I am going to go Kyler over Gino, but man, it's close. It's about 3 spots in my ranking, so I get it, but I'm going Kyler. I think that game could get ugly and like shootout in good way for sure. Then we got start 2 of Tyrone, Tracy, Chase Brown, Cam Akers, Justice Hill, Roshan Johnson. I would be going Chase Brown and Tyrone, Justice Hill, I think. That's a tough one, though. Tracy could be the best bet for volume, so could Akers. But I personally, my gut just says Chase Brown, Justice Hill. But that's a really tough decision right there. One run back, 2 flex, half PPR, leaning Najee. Nope, I'm going B-Rob over there. Myself, Anders, I just think Najee sucks. Running backs, the other running back, DJ Moore, Downs, Leggett, or maybe even Kraft. I would go Downs, and I think DJ Moore is what I would do for that. I'm going to go B-Rob, DJ Moore, and Downs in that one. Do I start Josh Allen or Jay Daniels? I go Josh Allen there, Keegan, but man, you could go for any of them for sure. When Smith coming back? Devonta Smith? I don't even know what you mean, but probably right after the bye. I don't know if you already answered my question, but Daniels or Love? I said Daniels for that one, Jorge. Burrow or Purdy. I'm going to go Burrow over Purdy, but man, great matchup for Purdy today too. Leggett, Atwell, Coleman need 2 receivers. I am going to bench Leggett here, I think, David Allen. Wicks or Downs. I go Wicks over Downs. Both great options today, but I go Wicks over Down, even in full PPR. I'm going to go Wicks over Achane. He did go over, folks. So we are going to cut it off there. It sounds like you got a trade dilemma there. Should I trade Diggs? Maybe. It depends on what you're getting, though. That's a tough question to wrap on. And I hope you went Jaden Reed, Bo over Packers. I love Jaden Reed this week. I think it's a great play. I don't know if this is enough value here either, Giuseppe, by the way. Daniels and Lamar. I think for Connor, maybe. But his injury always feels inevitable. I feel like you could get a little more, especially if you package with somebody. Like shoot for a true elite. Saquon, Nico Collins. Can you package them and pull that off is where I would be going for sure. Alrighty, guys. That does wrap it up, guys. Thank you again so much. 1,200 of you here. Really appreciate it. I do want to go watch the game, get my old lineup set. At this point, we always go 8 to 10, a little over here today. But on your way out, that thumbs up button, the subscribe button would be so great. So many new names out there. Would love to have you guys routinely be a part of the Wolfpack Great Question from RP and Bo, all you Celtic Dalty. Would love to have you here. So please consider on your way out hitting that thumbs up and hitting that subscribe over on YouTube. And of course, if you're on Twitter, that heart button, the retweet to get it out to more people is so greatly appreciated to help us continue to grow things over here at RoseStreetJournal.com. And I'll be posting my updated rankings at RoseStreetJournal.com as I sift through these after all these questions, after all the news that comes out from here. I'll be sure to have those updated rankings for you over at RotoStreetJournal.com. Thank you again so much, Wolfpack. In a world full of fantasy sheep, be the wolf. Kill it in week 5. Let's go.